I'm standing in my parents' dining room with a store-bought apple pie, trying to act like everything is normal. The table is set perfectly, the way my mother always does it when she wants something. My father clears his throat and slides a manila folder across the polished wood surface. My stomach drops before I even open it. "We rewrote the will," he says. His voice is flat, rehearsed. "You'll understand. You don't need it." I stare at the papers. My name is gone, completely erased. The house, the cabin, the small rental properties my grandparents left them, everything goes to my brother Blake now. Just Blake. My mother won't look at me. She's focused on her coffee cup like it holds the secrets of the universe. Blake leans back in his chair with this smirk that makes my skin crawl. He's enjoying this. "This wasn't a discussion," I say quietly, my throat tightening. "This was already decided." "You have your company," my father says. "Like that explains everything. Blake stayed here. He takes care of us. He deserves security." I built that company from nothing. I left home at 18 with $200 and a laptop. I worked 3 jobs while learning to code. I slept in my car some nights. When my tech startup finally took off, when it grew into something worth $210 billion, I never forgot where I came from. I sent money home. I paid for repairs on their house. I bought my mother the car she drives. None of that matters now. "So this is about money?" I ask. "This is about family," my mother says softly, still not meeting my eyes. "Blake has always been here. He never left us." The words hit like a slap. I left to survive. I left because staying in this small town meant drowning in expectations I could never meet. But they see it as abandonment. Blake's smirk grows wider. He's been waiting for this moment for years. He drops his bomb casually, like he's commenting on the weather. "Also, Dad already told the family why." My blood turns cold. "What do you mean, told the family?" I ask. My father shifts in his seat. "People were asking questions about the will. I explained our reasoning." "What reasoning?" Blake laughs. "That you're too busy being successful to care about us anymore. That you forgot where you came from. That money changed you." I look at my mother, waiting for her to defend me. She takes a sip of coffee. Silent. I stand up slowly, leaving the pie untouched on the table. My hands are shaking, but I keep my voice steady. "I need to go." "Victoria," my father says, using my full name like I'm still a child. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." But it's already hard. It's already done. They didn't disinherit me in private. They made it public. They turned my entire family against me before I even knew what was happening. Blake walks me to the door. He's still smiling. "Don't take it personally," he says. "This is just business. Family business." I drive home in silence, my mind racing. Something about this feels wrong. The timing, the cruelty, the way Blake looked at me, like he won something I didn't even know we were competing for. My phone buzzes, a text from my Aunt Patricia. "Why did your parents say you abandoned them?" I pull over to the side of the road. My hands grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. They didn't just change the will, they're changing the story. And somehow, I'm the villain. I need to tell you who I am, because clearly my own family has forgotten. My name is Victoria Harper. I'm 36 years old. I'm the daughter they called difficult, because I asked questions. Because I wanted more than this small town could offer. Because I refused to make myself smaller, to fit into their expectations. I left at 18. Not because I hated them, but because I was suffocating. My father wanted me to work at the local hardware store. My mother wanted me to marry someone from church and give her grandchildren. Blake was happy to stay. To live in the apartment above their garage, to work part-time and fish on weekends. I wanted to build something. So I left with my savings, a used car, and a dream that everyone told me was impossible. I taught myself to code using library computers. I lived on ramen and hope. I worked as a waitress during the day and built my first app at night. That app became a platform. That platform became a company. That company became worth $210 billion. And through it all, I stayed connected. I called every Sunday. I sent money for house repairs, for my father's truck, for my mother's dental work. I paid for Blake's community college tuition when he decided to try it for a semester. I showed up for holidays, even when business demanded I be elsewhere. But standing in that dining room today, none of it counted. My mother's words echo in my head. Blake stayed. He deserves security. I deserve security too. I worked for it. I earned it. But apparently loyalty means staying small, staying local, staying dependent. My phone rings. It's my Aunt Patricia. Victoria, honey, what's going on? She asks. Her voice is careful, probing. Your mother called me yesterday. She said you've been distant, that you told them you don't care about the family anymore. My stomach twists. I never said that. She said you refused to help them when they needed it most. What are you talking about? I've been helping them for years. Patricia pauses. Your father told everyone at church that you won't support them now that you're successful. He said you've forgotten where you came from. I close my eyes. The lies are spreading faster than I can track them. They're not just writing me out of the will, they're writing me out of the family story entirely. Patricia, that's not true. None of that is true. Then why would they say it? That's the question, isn't it? Why would parents destroy their own daughter's reputation? Why would they turn the entire family against her before she even knows what's happening? Blake, this has Blake's fingerprints all over it. I don't know, I tell Patricia, but I'm going to find out. After I hang up, I sit in my car and start making notes. Dates, conversations, money I sent, receipts I saved. If they're going to lie about me, I need proof of the truth. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a text from my cousin Amy. Is it true you told your parents you're too important for family gatherings now? Another buzz. My uncle, disappointed in you, Victoria. Another. They coordinated this. They told everyone their version before I could tell mine. And now I'm drowning in accusations I can't fight because I didn't even know they were coming. My phone rings one more time. It's my mother. Victoria, people are asking me questions, she says. Her voice is tight, embarrassed. Why did you tell Patricia we're lying? Because you are. Don't embarrass us. And there it is. Not I'm sorry, not let's talk. Just don't embarrass us. As if I'm the problem. As if defending myself is somehow worse than what they've done to me. I'll call you later, I say and hang up before she can respond. I need help. Not emotional support. I need legal help. Because whatever Blake is planning, whatever game he's playing, I can't fight it alone. Sunday morning, and I'm sitting in my car outside Riverside Community Church, watching my family arrive for the weekly brunch. This used to be my favorite tradition. Now it feels like walking into enemy territory. I take a deep breath and walk inside. The church basement smells like coffee and cinnamon rolls. People are gathered in small groups, talking and laughing. When I walk in, the conversations don't stop, but they change. Voices get quieter, eyes slide toward me and then away. I grab a cup of coffee and try to act normal. Mrs. Patterson approaches me with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Victoria, how lovely to see you, she says. Your parents must be so proud of everything you've accomplished. There's something in her tone, something sharp, hidden under the sweetness. Thank you, I say carefully. It must be hard, being so busy with your important work. She pats my arm. Your parents sacrificed so much so you could chase your dreams. The words hang there like an accusation. I swallow the coffee that suddenly tastes bitter. They've been very supportive, I say. Mrs. Patterson leans in closer. I just hope you remember to take care of them now that they need you. They gave you everything. I want to argue. I want to tell her that I've been taking care of them for years. But the way she's looking at me tells me it won't matter. She's already decided who I am. I excuse myself and move toward the food table. That's when I hear it. A conversation that stops the moment I get close, but not before I catch the words. Audrey won't help them now that she's rich. Wait, they called me Audrey. But my name is Victoria. My hands start shaking. Are they talking about someone else? Or did they get confused because they've been told so many stories about ungrateful daughters that they can't keep them straight? I turn around and nearly walk straight into Blake's girlfriend, Sienna. Oh, Victoria, she says, her voice dripping with fake concern. Are you okay? You look upset. I'm fine. It's just everyone's been talking about you and your parents, about the situation. What situation? She lowers her voice. How you told them you've outgrown this town. How you don't have time for family anymore. My throat tightens. That's not what happened. Well, that's what they're saying. She shrugs. Blake said your parents are heartbroken. He said you've changed. I look across the room and see Blake talking to our father. They're both watching me. When Blake catches my eye, he smiles and raises his coffee cup in a mock toast. I need to leave. Now. But before I can move, Pastor Andrews steps up to the microphone at the front of the room. Good morning, everyone. Before we eat, I have a quick announcement. He smiles warmly. The Harper family has requested a special family meeting next Wednesday evening, and they've asked if we could host it here at the church. They'd like some of our community members to join them as witnesses and support. My blood runs cold. Witnesses? Support for what? I look at my father. He's nodding, looking humble and sad. My mother stands beside him, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Blake catches my eye again. This time, he's not smiling. He's watching me with the cold focus of someone who's planned every move. Pastor Andrews continues. I know the Harpers would appreciate your prayers during this difficult family time. Let's keep them in our thoughts. People are nodding. Some are already looking at me with pity or judgment or both. I set down my coffee cup and walk out. I don't run, but I want to. I keep my head high until I'm in my car, and then I let my hands shake. A family meeting, with witnesses, with the pastor there to give it legitimacy. This isn't just about the will anymore. This is a trial, and I'm the one being judged. My phone buzzes. My father. Family meeting Wednesday 7 p.m. Be there. Not a request, a command. I text back one word, why? His response comes immediately. You'll see. Wednesday evening arrives like a storm I can't avoid. I pull into the church parking lot at 6:45, early enough to watch others arrive. My stomach is in knots, but I keep my face calm. Whatever they've planned, I won't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I walk into the fellowship hall and stop in the doorway. This isn't a family meeting. It's a setup. My parents sit at the center of a long table, Pastor Andrews beside them. Blake and Sienna sit on one side. But that's not what makes my chest tighten. It's the others. Mrs. Patterson, the church gossip. Mr. Hendricks and Mrs. Hendricks, our neighbors from childhood. Blake's best friend Troy. And Sienna's mother, whose name I can't remember, but whose disapproving face I recognize. They're seated like a jury. And I'm the defendant. Victoria, Pastor Andrews says warmly, please sit down. There's one empty chair directly across from my parents. Of course there is. I sit, folding my hands on the table. I won't let them see my fear. My father clears his throat and pulls out a piece of paper. It's covered in notes, bullet points. He's prepared a speech. Thank you all for coming tonight, he begins. We asked you here because we need witnesses to what's happening in our family. We need people who know us, who can see the truth. His voice catches. My mother reaches over and squeezes his hand. She's already crying. Our daughter Victoria has been very successful, he continues. We're proud of what she's built, but success changed her. She's not the girl we raised. I dig my fingernails into my palm to stay quiet. She left home 18 years ago, and we supported that. We understood she needed to find her way. But over the years, as her company grew, she pulled further and further away from us. She stopped calling as much. She stopped visiting. That's a lie. I called every Sunday until 3 months ago when suddenly my calls started going to voicemail. We tried to be understanding, my mother says, her voice small and hurt. We tried to give her space, but when we needed her most, when we asked for help, she turned her back on us. Wait, what help? What did they ask for? Blake speaks up, his voice heavy with disappointment. I've been here. I've been taking care of them. Their house needs repairs. Dad's health isn't great. Mom needs help with things. And when they asked Victoria to contribute, to help the family, she refused. My mouth falls open. I never refused anything. You never asked me. We asked, my father says firmly. 3 months ago. You said you'd think about it. Then you stopped returning our calls. 3 months ago. What happened 3 months ago? I search my memory and find it, the last Sunday dinner I attended. My father mentioned wanting to refinance the house. I said I'd look into helping with a down payment if they needed it. Then they stopped inviting me to Sunday dinners. My calls went unanswered. You stopped answering my calls, I say. I thought you were upset with me about something, but you never told me what. We're protecting ourselves, my mother says. We can't rely on someone who isn't reliable. Pastor Andrews leans forward. Victoria, your parents have shared with me their concerns about your priorities. They feel you've chosen your career over your family. Is that true? This is insane. They've built an entire narrative and brought in witnesses to make it real. No, I say firmly. That's not true. I've been sending money home for years. I've paid for repairs, for cars, for medical bills. I've been helping. Money isn't everything, my mother says softly. We needed you, not your wallet. Blake pulls out a folder. He's been waiting for this moment. He slides it across the table with theatrical slowness. Tell them what you refused to pay, he says. I open the folder. It's full of medical bills, hospital bills, doctor bills, pharmacy receipts, all with my father's name on them. The total at the bottom makes my breath catch, $83,000. Dad's heart condition, Blake says. The one he told you about. The one you said you'd help with. I stare at the papers. I don't remember him telling me about any heart condition. I don't remember any of this. When did you tell me? I ask. In February, my father says. You said you'd think about it. February, 5 months ago. I was in Japan for a conference in February. I barely spoke to my parents that entire month except for a few text messages. I don't remember that conversation, I say carefully. Memory is selective when it's convenient, Sienna's mother says quietly. I look around the table. They're all watching me with varying degrees of pity and judgment. They've already decided I'm guilty. This meeting isn't about finding the truth. It's about making their story official. Pastor Andrews folds his hands. Victoria, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to facilitate healing. Your parents love you. They want a relationship with you, but they also need to know they can count on you. Can they? The question hangs in the air like a trap. If I say yes, I'm admitting I've failed them. If I say no, I'm the heartless daughter they've painted me to be. Blake leans back in his chair watching me, waiting. Audrey, Pastor Andrews says gently, will you commit to supporting your parents? He called me Audrey again, the name they've been using to tell stories about ungrateful daughters. The name that isn't mine. I stand up slowly. My name is Victoria, I say quietly. And I need to understand what's really happening here before I commit to anything. My father's face hardens. My mother looks away. And Blake? Blake smiles. I don't sleep that night. I pace my apartment, replaying the meeting over and over. The medical bills, the accusations, the way they all looked at me like I was guilty of something I didn't do. But one question keeps circling back, the refinance. At the meeting, they accused me of refusing to help. But 6 months ago, my father mentioned wanting to refinance the house. He said it casually, like it wasn't urgent. I offered to help research options. Then the conversation stopped. Why did they refinance? And why didn't they tell me? At 3 a.m, I open my laptop. If they refinanced, it's public record. Property records, loan documents, they're all available if you know where to look. I pull up the county assessor's website and type in my parents' address. The screen loads and my breath catches. The house was refinanced 7 months ago. A new mortgage for $350,000. That's nearly twice what they owed on the original loan. I click through to the loan documents. The lender is a small local bank. The purpose listed is home improvement and debt consolidation. Home improvement? Their house looks exactly the same as it did a year ago. Same old siding, same roof, same driveway with the crack down the middle. I make coffee and keep digging. If they took out that much money, where did it go? My phone rings at 7 a.m. It's Blake. Did you think about what Pastor Andrews said? He asks. His voice is casual, friendly even, like we're discussing weekend plans. I need to see those medical bills again, I say. The ones you showed me last night. Why? Don't you believe Dad is sick? I want to see them. He sighs. You know what your problem is, Victoria? You always have to make everything complicated. Dad needs help. You can help. It's that simple. Why did they refinance the house? I ask. Silence. Just for a second. Then, upgrades. The house needed work. What kind of work? I don't know. New roof, new furnace, things like that. Why does it matter? Because the house looks the same to me. Maybe you haven't been paying attention, Blake says. His voice has an edge now. Maybe if you visited more than twice a year, you'd notice things. I visited plenty before you all started icing me out. Nobody iced you out. You chose your company over your family. I gripped the phone tighter. He's good at this, at twisting things, at making me defend myself for crimes I didn't commit. Send me copies of the medical bills, I say. I want to see them. You saw them last night. I want copies I can review, with dates and details, Blake laughs. It's not a friendly sound. You think we're lying? You think Dad's faking a heart condition? I think something doesn't add up, and I want to understand what's really happening before I hand over money. That's what this is about? You think we're scamming you? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. His voice goes cold. You know what, Victoria? Mom was right. You have changed. The old Victoria would have helped without asking questions. She would have trusted us. The old Victoria didn't have experience with what? With family? Yeah, clearly. He hangs up. I sit there holding my phone, my heart pounding. Something is very wrong. The timing, the missing money, the medical bills that appeared out of nowhere. It's all connected somehow. I spend the rest of the morning making calls. First to my father's primary care doctor, or at least the doctor I remember him seeing years ago. I'm calling about my father, James Harper. I tell the receptionist, I need to verify some medical information. I'm sorry, but we can't release patient information without authorization. I understand. Can you at least confirm he's a patient there? She pauses, typing, We don't have anyone by that name in our system. My stomach drops. Are you sure? James Harper, age 62? No record. He may have transferred to another practice. I call 2 other clinics in town. Same answer. No record. Either my father changed doctors and never mentioned it, or those medical bills are fake. I'm staring at my laptop screen, trying to figure out my next move when my phone buzzes. An email notification. The subject line makes my blood run cold. Lien notice. Property at 847 Maple Street. That's my parents' address. I open the email. It's an automated notice from the county recorder's office. Someone's placed a lien on my parents' property. The amount, $140,000. The creditor, RJ Capital Solutions. I've never heard of them. I search the name and find a website for a private lending company. High-interest loans. Debt consolidation. The kind of place you go when banks won't give you money anymore. My hands shake as I screenshot everything. The refinance. The lien. The missing medical records. My phone buzzes again. A text from my mother. Don't embarrass us. Not let's talk. Not we need to explain. Just don't embarrass us. They know I'm digging, and they're warning me to stop. But I can't stop. Because if I'm right, if what I'm seeing is what I think it is, then this isn't about me being a bad daughter. This is about something much worse. I need professional help, and I need it now. I call my longtime attorney, Juliet Carver. We've worked together for years. She handled my company's early contracts, our patents, our acquisitions. She's brilliant, tough, and most importantly, she doesn't let emotions cloud her judgment. Victoria, she answers on the second ring. This isn't your usual Tuesday morning call. What's wrong? I tell her everything. The will, the meeting, the medical bills, the refinance, the lien. I send her screenshots while we talk. She's quiet for a long moment after I finish. How much do you know about your brother's financial situation? She asks finally. Not much. He works part-time at a sporting goods store, lives in my parents' garage apartment, spends a lot of time fishing. No wife? No kids? Girlfriend. Sienna. They've been together about 3 years. Any major purchases recently? New car, vacation, expensive hobbies? I think about it. He bought a new truck last year. And I remember my mom mentioning he was starting some kind of business, but she was vague about it. Victoria, I'm going to be blunt with you. This isn't estate planning. This is punishment. Your parents are being used, and you're being positioned as the villain to justify it. The words hit hard because they confirm what I've been afraid to think. Why would they do this? I ask. Maybe they're not in control. Maybe someone else is pulling the strings. She pauses. Do you want revenge, or do you want peace? I close my eyes. I want clean justice. I want the truth to come out, and for everyone be protected, including my parents. Good answer? Now, here's what we need to do. First, we document everything. Every conversation, every text, every email. Second, we pull all available public records on your parents' finances and your brother's. Third, and this is important, you don't engage emotionally. No angry calls, no defensive texts. We let the facts speak. They're planning something, I say. I can feel it. They already did something. They rewrote the will, launched a smear campaign, and manufactured a crisis. Now they're waiting to see what you'll do. So we don't react. We investigate. We spend the next hour going through everything I know. Juliet takes notes, asks questions, builds a timeline. One more thing, she says as we're about to hang up. Your family's estate. Do you know if there are any trusts involved? Any assets from your grandparents? My grandparents died when I was in college. I think they left everything to my parents in a will. Check that. Sometimes families have trusts that get forgotten or overlooked. If there's a trust, it might have provisions that change the game entirely. After we hang up, I start searching through old family documents I scanned years ago. Photos, letters, records I digitized when I was trying to preserve family history. Then I find it. A letter from my grandfather to my grandmother, dated 3 years before he died. I've set up the family trust like we discussed. It's not much, but it should keep the kids from fighting after we're gone. The lawyer says it has provisions to handle disputes fairly. Nobody can be cut out unfairly. That's the whole point. A family trust. My grandparents set up a trust. I call Juliet back immediately. I think there's a trust, I say. My grandfather mentioned it in a letter. Who was the attorney? I search through more papers and find a business card tucked into one of my grandmother's old photo albums, Franklin and Associates. But that was almost 20 years ago. I'll track it down. If there's a trust, there are rules. And if your parents violated those rules by unilaterally disinheriting you, there might be remedies. After we hang up, I sit in my home office, surrounded by papers and screens, and I let myself feel it for just a moment, the grief. Not for the money or the house or the inheritance. For the family I thought I had. For the parents I believed loved me unconditionally. For the brother I used to play with as a kid. They're gone. Maybe they never existed the way I remembered them. My phone buzzes. Blake, look, we can fix this. Just wire Dad's attorney $250K. Cover the medical bills, help with the house stuff. Then everything goes back to normal. I read the text 3 times. He says it so casually, $250,000, like he's asking me to pick up coffee. I type back, no. 3 dots appear immediately, then disappear, then appear again. Then you'll lose them for good. I don't respond. I'm done playing his game. 2 hours later, an email arrives. It's from a law office I don't recognize, Hampton Legal Services. The subject line, Family Support Agreement, Review and Signature Required. I forward it to Juliet without opening it. She calls me 5 minutes later. Do not sign this, she says. Her voice is sharp. This is a trap. Juliet sends me a marked-up version of the Family Support Agreement with her notes in red. It looks innocent at first glance. A simple agreement where I, Victoria Harper, agree to provide financial support to my parents for their medical expenses, home maintenance, and general living costs. There's language about family obligations and moral responsibility. But Juliet's notes reveal the poison hidden in the pretty words. Clause 3.2. This is a blank check. No cap on the amounts, no definition of reasonable expenses, no end date. You'd be legally obligated to pay whatever they claim you owe, forever. Clause 4.1. You'd be responsible for debts incurred before this agreement was signed. That means the refinanced debt, the lien, everything Blake has racked up in their names would become your responsibility. Clause 5.3. They could add additional parties as beneficiaries with your approval, except approval is defined as failure to object within 48 hours. They could add Blake, Sienna, anyone, and if you didn't see the email in time, you'd be stuck supporting them too. I feel sick reading it. This isn't a support agreement, Juliet says when I call her. This is an indenture. They're trying to make you legally responsible for a financial hole you didn't dig. What do? Nothing. Don't sign. Don't respond. Let them show their hand. When people build traps, they eventually show you what they're really after. That afternoon, I get a voicemail from my mother. Her voice is soft, hurt, trembling. Victoria, honey, I don't understand why you're being so difficult about this. We're your parents. We raised you, we loved you, we sacrificed for you. All we're asking is for you to help us in our time of need. If you loved us, you'd do this. You'd sign the agreement and stop making everything so complicated. Please. I'm begging you, don't do this to our family. I listened to it 3 times. The manipulation is so smooth, so practiced. She doesn't mention the blank check terms or the unlimited liability. She just makes it about love, about obligation, about me being the problem. I save the voicemail. Document everything, like Juliet said. That evening, I sit in my car outside my childhood home. I don't know why I drove here. Maybe I needed to see it to remember what I'm fighting for, or fighting against. The house looks the same as always. Small, neat, the kind of house where normal families live normal lives. Except nothing about this is normal anymore. I watch Blake's truck pull into the driveway. He gets out, laughing at something on his phone. He looks happy, relaxed, not like someone whose parents are in dire financial straits. Not like someone whose father has a serious heart condition. He looks like someone who's winning. My hands start shaking. Not from fear, from grief, from the realization that I almost caved. I almost signed that agreement because some part of me still believes that if I just do what they want, just give enough, sacrifice enough, diminish myself enough, they'll love me the way I need them to. But love doesn't require surrender. Love doesn't demand you erase yourself. Love doesn't come with trap agreements and public humiliation. I start the car and drive away before anyone sees me. When I get home, there's an email from Juliet. Found the trust. You need to see this. She's attached a scanned copy of my grandparents' trust agreement. It's 43 pages long, dense with legal language. But Juliet has highlighted the important parts. The Harper Family Trust, established 2001. Purpose: to preserve family harmony and prevent wealth from destroying relationships. Assets: cabin property, 2 rental properties. Investment accounts, values from 2001, likely worth significantly more now. Beneficiaries: all direct descendants, with provisions to prevent disinheritance or unfair distribution. I keep reading. The trust has a buyout clause, triggered by either major family conflict or the attempted disinheritance of any beneficiary. If triggered, the trust allows any beneficiary to purchase family assets at a formula-based price, calculated by an independent appraiser. My heart starts racing. Clause 8.3. In the event that a beneficiary is removed from a family, will, or otherwise disinherited without just cause, as defined in Schedule C, said beneficiary shall have the right to trigger a mandatory asset valuation and purchase option. I look at Schedule C. Just cause is defined as conviction of a crime against a family member, legal declaration of incompetence, or voluntary renunciation of inheritance in writing. I haven't done any of those things, which means my grandparents built a safety net. They knew families could tear themselves apart over money, so they created a way to protect everyone, and my parents just handed me the trigger. I call Juliet. Did you see the clause? She asks. Yes. What does this mean practically? It means your parents can't just cut you out. The trust supersedes their will for any assets that came from your grandparents. And based on what I'm seeing, that includes the cabin, the rental properties, and a chunk of investment assets that were transferred to your parents as trust beneficiaries. So they don't actually have the right to give it all to Blake? Not without triggering your buyout option. And if they try to fight it, we just enforce the trust terms. Your grandfather was smart, Victoria. He saw this coming. I sit down hard in my desk chair. What's the buyout formula? Fair market value minus 15%, paid over 3 years at a fixed interest rate. It's designed to be accessible but still fair to all parties. So I could actually buy the family assets? If you want to. But here's the thing. The trust doesn't just protect you. It protects your parents too. If Blake has been using them, if he's racked up debt in their names, this gives us leverage to stop him. I think about my mother's text. Don't embarrass us. They know the trust exists. They've known all along, and they're hoping I don't. Juliet, we need to move carefully. I don't want to destroy my parents. I want to protect them. I know, but protecting them might mean fighting them first. Are you ready for that? I look at the trust documents spread across my desk. I think about Blake's smirk, about the fake medical bills, about my parents sitting in that church basement painting me as a villain. Yes, I say. I'm ready. The next morning, my phone rings at 6:30. It's Blake, and he sounds different. Sweet. Friendly. The old Blake, the brother I used to know before all this started. Hey Vic, he says, using the nickname he hasn't used in years. Can we talk? Just you and me, no lawyers, no drama. I put him on speaker and open my recording app. Document everything. What do you want to talk about? I ask. Look, I know things got heated. I know the meeting was intense. But we're family, right? We shouldn't let money tear us apart. You're the one who brought money into it. I was trying to protect Mom and Dad. You know how they are. They won't ask for help even when they need it. I thought if we all sat down together, we could work something out. His voice is so reasonable, so kind. If I didn't know better, I'd believe him. The agreement your lawyer sent, I say. It's not just about helping, it's about making me responsible for unlimited expenses with no oversight. That's just legal language. You know how lawyers are. They make everything complicated. All we really need is help with the medical bills and maybe a little cushion for mom and dad's expenses. Nothing crazy. How much is a little cushion? I don't know. Maybe $250 to start? Just to cover the bills and give them some breathing room. There it is again. $250K like it's nothing. Just wire dad's attorney the money, Blake continues. Then we can fix this whole will thing. Mom and dad were just scared, scared you wouldn't be there for them. But if you show them you care, everything goes back to normal. What happened to the refinance money? I ask. Silence. Just for a beat. What do you mean? The house was refinanced for $350K 7 months ago. Where did the money go? Upgrades. I told you that. What upgrades? The house looks exactly the same. You haven't been here in months. How would you know? I drove by yesterday. More silence. I can almost hear him recalibrating. Look, there were repairs, foundation stuff, electrical, things you can't see. It's not my job to give you an itemized list. And Dad's medical bills. I called his doctor's office. They don't have him on file. He changed doctors. Jesus, Victoria, why are you interrogating me? This is exactly why Mom and Dad feel like you don't trust them. I'm asking questions because nothing adds up. The money, the bills, the timing. You want to know what this is really about? Blake's voice goes hard. It's about control. You can't stand that Mom and Dad chose me. You can't stand that they see me as the reliable one. So now you're making up conspiracy theories to justify your guilt. I'm not. Just wire the money, help your family. Then you'll see everything will go back to normal. We'll fix the will. We'll have Sunday dinners again. It'll be like it was before. But it will never be like it was before. Because I know now what I didn't know then. My family sees me as a resource, not a person. I'm not wiring the money, I say. Blake laughs. It's sharp, bitter. Then you'll lose them for good. Is that what you want? To lose your family over money? This isn't about money. Everything's about money with you now. You got rich and forgot where you came from. Mom was right about you. He hangs up. I sit there, my phone in my hand, my brother's words echoing in my head. The manipulation is so smooth. He makes me sound greedy for not giving away money I earned. He makes me sound paranoid for asking questions. He makes me the villain for wanting truth. My email pings. Another message from Hampton Legal Services. Dear Miss Harper, we have not received your signed family support agreement. Please note that failure to execute this agreement may result in legal action to compel support under state filial responsibility laws. Additionally, your parents have requested we formalize their estate plans to reflect current family circumstances. Please advise by end of business today. I forward it to Juliet. She calls immediately. They're bluffing. Virginia doesn't have strong filial responsibility laws, and what laws exist require proof of actual need, not manufactured need. They're trying to scare you into signing. It's working. No, it's not, because you're not scared, you're strategic. That's different. Now, I need to ask you something serious. Do you want to trigger the trust buyout clause? My heart pounds. What would that mean? We file notice with the trust administrator that you've been disinherited without cause. The administrator is required to initiate an asset valuation. Once that's done, you have the option to purchase the trust assets at the formula price. Your parents can either buy you out of your share, or you buy them out. Either way, the assets get divided fairly. What happens to my parents? They keep their house. The refinance debt is theirs, but you're not responsible for it. The cabin and rental properties go through the buyout process. Any investment accounts in the trust get distributed according to trust terms. And Blake? Blake gets whatever's left after the trust assets are distributed. If he's been using your parents' credit, if he's racked up debts, that's between him and them. You're not responsible. I think about my mother's voicemail. If you loved us, you'd do this. But love isn't supposed to hurt this much. Love isn't supposed to demand everything and give nothing back. Do it, I say. Trigger the clause. You sure? Yes. And Juliet, we do this right. No shortcuts, no tricks. Everything legal, everything documented. I don't want them to be able to say I stole anything. That's what makes this going to work, she says. We're not the ones playing dirty. After we hang up, I sit at my desk and let myself cry. Not for the money or the assets or the inheritance. For the family I'm losing. For the relationship that was already broken before I knew it. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop trying to fix what was never whole to begin with. Juliet works fast. By the end of the week, she's tracked down the trust administrator, a law firm in Richmond that's been managing the trust since my grandfather died. She's also pulled every public record she can find on my parents' finances and Blake's activities. What she finds makes my stomach turn. We meet at her office on Saturday morning. She spreads papers across her conference table like a detective laying out evidence. Your brother has been busy, she says. The refinance money, $350,000, was used to pay off 3 separate high-interest loans, all in your parents' names. Those loans were taken out over the past 2 years. What were they for? She slides over more documents. Blake started a business 18 months ago, Harper Outdoors LLC. It was supposed to be an online fishing gear store. He took out $125,000 in startup capital using your parents' house as collateral. My hands go cold. They let him do that? Either they let him, or he convinced them it was a good idea. The business failed within 6 months, never turned a profit. But the debt remained. And the other loans? One was for $80,000, labeled business expansion. Another was for $145, labeled inventory purchase. All of it through high-interest private lenders because banks wouldn't touch him after the first loan went bad. I stare at the numbers. Blake burned through $350,000 in less than 2 years, and now my parents are drowning in debt because of it. There's more, Juliet says quietly. She slides over a stack of papers that makes my heart sink. The lien you found? RJ Capital Solutions? That's a debt collection agency. Blake took out a personal loan for $140,000 using his connection to your parents as reference. When he defaulted, they came after the house. Can they do that? If he listed the house as collateral, and it looks like he did, yes. Your parents might not have fully understood what they were signing, but their signatures are on the documents. I feel sick. Blake didn't just risk his own future. He risked our parents' home, their security, everything. What about the medical bills? I ask. Juliet's expression darkens. I hired a private investigator to check the hospital records. Your father has been to the doctor twice in the past year, both times for routine checkups. No heart condition, no major procedures, no $83,000 in medical expenses. So Blake made it up, or heavily exaggerated existing bills. Either way, it's fraud. I stand up and walk to the window. My parents' house is in danger because Blake gambled with their future. And instead of holding him accountable, they've made me the villain. Why would they protect him, I ask? Because admitting Blake messed up means admitting they enabled him. It means the whole town knowing they made bad choices. It's easier to blame you, the daughter who left, who got successful, who doesn't need them. You're the safer target. The truth of it hits hard. The trust, I say, turning back to her. Can it protect them? That's the beautiful part. Your grandfather knew families could make bad decisions, so he built in protections. The trust assets can't be touched by personal debts. The cabin, the rental properties, the investment accounts, Blake can't use them as collateral, and creditors can't go after them. So if we trigger the buyout, the trust assets get valued and separated from your parents' personal debts. You can purchase your share, or they can buy you out. Either way, those assets are protected from Blake's creditors. I sit back down. This is going to destroy my relationship with them. Victoria, there's no relationship left to destroy. They've already chosen Blake over you. They've already rewritten the story to make you the bad guy. You triggering the trust doesn't change that. It just protects what's left. She's right. I know she's right. But it still hurts. How do we start? I ask. I've already drafted the notice to the trust administrator. We just need your signature. Once we file, the administrator is legally required to begin the valuation process within 30 days. Your parents will be notified, and they'll have the option to either buy you out at the appraised value or sell to you. What about the house? The debt? The house isn't part of the trust, so it's not included in the buyout. But here's where it gets interesting. She pulls out another document. I've been in contact with a few asset management firms. They sometimes purchase distressed mortgages. If the debt on your parents' house hits the market, which it will if they keep defaulting, anyone can buy it. My mouth goes dry. Including me. Including you. Completely legal, completely transparent. You'd buy the note at market rate. Then you'd have options. Restructure the payment terms, negotiate directly with your parents, or enforce the lien. It gives you leverage without breaking any laws. You're saying I could own my parents' debt? I'm saying you could control whether they lose their house. Right now, Blake has all the power because he's manipulated them into depending on him. If you own the note, you take that power away. I think about my mother's text. Don't embarrass us. They're more afraid of embarrassment than of losing their home, more afraid of the town knowing the truth than of facing the truth themselves. Let's file the notice, I say. And keep an eye on the mortgage note. If it hits the market, I want to know immediately. Juliet smiles. Now you're thinking strategically. That afternoon, I sign the notice to the trust administrator. It's simple, straightforward. To whom it may concern, I, Victoria Harper, hereby notify the trust administrator that I have been disinherited from my parents' will without just cause, as defined in the Harper Family Trust Agreement, Section 8.3. I am invoking my right to trigger the mandatory asset valuation and buyout provision. Please proceed according to trust terms. Juliet files it electronically and by certified mail. Within 48 hours, my parents will know what I've done, and then the real battle begins. The notification must arrive on Tuesday morning, because by Tuesday afternoon, my phone explodes. 12 missed calls from Blake. 7 from my mother. 3 from my father. Texts pouring in from relatives I haven't heard from in years, all asking variations of the same question. What are you doing to your parents? I don't answer any of them. Juliet told me to let them react, let them show their hand. So I stay quiet and watch the storm build. Then, Tuesday evening, my father shows up at my apartment. I see him through the security camera before I open the door. He looks older than I remember, more tired. For a moment, I almost feel guilty. Then I remember the church meeting, the false medical bills, the way they turned everyone against me before I knew what was happening. I open the door. Dad? What the hell do you think you're doing? His voice is shaking, not with anger but something else. Fear. Maybe. Can we talk inside? No. I want to know right now, why are you destroying this family? I'm not destroying anything. I'm enforcing the trust Grandpa set up to protect all of us. That trust was never supposed to be used. It was just a formality, something the lawyers said we needed. Then why are the terms so specific? Why did Grandpa build in protections against disinheritance? My father's jaw tightens. Because he was paranoid, because his own sister tried to steal his inheritance when their parents died, and he never got over it. But we're not like that. Then why did you cut me out of the will? Because Blake needs it more than you do. You have your company, your money, your life. He has nothing. He has nothing because he gambled away $350 of your money on a failed business, and now your house is at risk. My father goes very still. How do you know about that? Public records, loan documents, liens. It's all there if you bother to look. Blake made some mistakes. We all make mistakes. That doesn't mean we abandon family. But you abandoned me. We didn't abandon you. We made a choice about who needs help more. You made me the villain to justify that choice. You told everyone I refused to help you when you never actually asked for help. You invented medical bills, manufactured a crisis, and brought in witnesses to make it all seem real. We did what we had to do. The words hang in the air between us. He's not even denying it anymore. The trust stands, I say quietly. Grandpa knew families could turn on each other over money. He built in safeguards. I'm using them. This will destroy your mother. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you destroyed me. My father stares at me for a long moment. Then he turns and walks away without another word. I close the door and lean against it, my heart hammering. This is what protection looks like. It looks like hurting the people you love to save them from someone worse. My phone buzzes. Blake again. This time I answer. You're making a huge mistake, he says. His voice is tight, controlled, dangerous. I'm protecting myself. You're stealing their inheritance. I'm exercising my legal rights under a trust our grandfather established. They'll never forgive you for this. They already don't forgive me. This just makes it official. Blake laughs, but there's no humor in it. You think you're so smart, you think you figured it all out, but you have no idea what's really happening here. Then enlighten me. Those properties, the cabin, the rentals, they're mortgaged too. Dad took out equity loans last year, so even if you buy them through your precious trust, you're buying debt. You'll get nothing. My stomach drops. He's lying. He has to be lying. I don't believe you. Check the county records yourself. 2 equity loans, total of $280, all secured by the cabin and both rental properties. Good luck with your buyout. He hangs up. I immediately text Juliet. Blake claims the trust properties are mortgaged. Verify immediately. She responds 5 minutes later. On it. Don't panic. But I am panicking, because if Blake is right, if my parents mortgaged the trust properties, then the buyout might be worthless. I'd be purchasing debt, not assets. Juliet calls an hour later. He's partially right, she says. There are equity loans on the properties. But here's the thing. The trust agreement specifically prohibits using trust assets as collateral without all beneficiaries' consent. Your parents needed your signature to mortgage those properties. But I never signed anything. Exactly, which means either the loans are invalid or someone forged your signature. What do? We request the loan documents from the lender. If your signature is on them, we compare it to known samples. If it's forged, we report the fraud. If your signature isn't on them at all, we challenge the loans as violations of trust terms. How long will that take? Could be weeks, could be months. But here's what matters. The trust administrator has to investigate this before proceeding with the valuation. They can't let the buyout process move forward if there are questions about the asset titles. I pace my apartment, my mind racing. Blake wanted this. He's been planning for this. He knew about the trust, knew I might trigger it, so he made sure the assets would be worthless if I did. Maybe. Or maybe he's just desperate and making mistakes. Either way, we've got him in a corner now. Because if those loans are fraudulent, he's not just losing the inheritance, he's facing criminal charges. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about my grandfather, about the trust he set up to protect us. He survived his own family trying to destroy him over money, and he built safeguards so we wouldn't have to. But Blake found a way around them. Or he tried to. My phone buzzes at 2 a.m. A text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're destroying everything. When this is over, you'll have nothing. Not your family, not the properties, not even your dignity. Back off now, or lose everything. I screenshot it and send it to Juliet with a note. Threatening text from unknown number, adding to documentation. She responds immediately, even at this hour. Good, let them keep digging their own grave. But as I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, I wonder, what if Blake is right? What if I really do end up with nothing? No family, no inheritance, just the bitter satisfaction of proving I was right? Is that worth it? Then I think about my mother's voicemail. If you loved us, you'd do this. Love shouldn't cost everything. Love shouldn't require me to save people who won't save themselves. Love shouldn't mean setting myself on fire to keep others warm. I choose strategy over surrender, and in the morning, I'll keep fighting. The trust administrator responds within a week. A neutral letter, professional and cold, informing all parties that an investigation into the property titles must be completed before the valuation can proceed. They've requested all loan documents, all signatures, all related paperwork from the lenders. Juliet calls me the moment she gets the letter. This is good, she says. The administrator is taking the forgery concerns seriously. They've also flagged that your parents violated trust terms by taking out equity loans without beneficiary consent. That puts them in breach of the trust agreement. What does that mean? It means the trust can potentially void those loans if they were made without proper authority. It also means your parents could lose their status as trust beneficiaries if the breach is serious enough. I don't want them to lose everything. I just want the truth to come out. I know, but sometimes the truth has consequences they're not ready for. That afternoon, my mother calls. I let it go to voicemail. I'm not ready to talk to her. Not when every conversation feels like stepping into a trap. But when I listen to the message, something in her voice makes my chest ache. Victoria, please, just talk to me. Your father is having chest pains. Real ones this time. He's terrified we're gonna lose the house. Blake keeps telling us everything will be fine, but I don't believe him anymore. I need you to tell me what's happening. Are you really going to take everything from us? I play it again. She sounds scared. Genuinely scared. I call Juliet. My mom says my father is having chest pains. What if he's actually sick now? What if the stress? Victoria, stop. You didn't create this situation. Blake did. Your parents enabled it. You're just refusing to be their escape hatch. That's not the same as causing harm. But what if something happens to him? Then that's between him and the choices he made. You can't set yourself on fire to keep him warm. I've heard that phrase before. I've said it to myself, but hearing Juliet say it makes it real. I need to focus on the investigation, I say. What's next? The lenders have to produce the loan documents. Once we have them, we'll know if your signature was forged. If it was, we file a police report. If it wasn't, we figure out how the loans got approved without your consent. And if Blake was involved in forgery, then he's facing felony charges. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. 2 days later, the first batch of documents arrives. Juliet spreads them across her conference table, and we examine every page together. And there it is. On the equity loan for the cabin, $180, taken out 11 months ago, there's a signature line for all trust beneficiaries. My parents' signatures are there. Blake's is there, even though he's not technically a beneficiary yet. And mine is there too, except I never signed it. I pull out my driver's license, my passport, my business documents. We compare the signatures side by side. It's close, Juliet says, studying them through a magnifying glass. Whoever did this practiced. But look here, the loop on your R is different. And your A has a distinctive tail that's missing in the forged version. How do we prove it? Forensic document examiner. They'll analyze pen pressure, stroke patterns, things the human eye can't easily detect. It'll cost a few $1,000s, but it's worth it. Do it. While we wait for the forensic analysis, the pressure from my family intensifies. Blake shows up at my office. Security calls to tell me he's in the lobby, demanding to see me. Tell him I'm not available, I say. He says he won't leave until you talk to him. I consider calling the police. Then I think, let him show everyone who he really is. Send him up, but have security wait outside the conference room. Blake walks in 5 minutes later. He looks terrible, red-eyed, unshaven, like he hasn't slept in days. You need to stop this, he says without preamble. You're destroying Mom and Dad. I'm protecting them from you. From me? I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one taking care of them while you were off building your empire. You took care of them by gambling away their money, by putting their house at risk, by forging my signature on loan documents. His face goes pale. I don't know what you're talking about. The equity loans, Blake. The ones you needed beneficiary signatures for. The ones with my forged signature on them. You're insane. I never forged anything. Then you won't mind when the forensic examiner proves it. Blake stares at me for a long moment. Then he does something that shocks me. He breaks down. He actually starts crying. I was trying to help them, he says, his voice cracking. The business was supposed to work. I was supposed to make enough money to pay them back, to take care of them so they'd never have to worry. But it failed, and I panicked, and I kept thinking if I just got one more loan, one more chance, I could fix everything. So you used their house as collateral. They wanted to help me. They believed in me. And when that wasn't enough, you made me the villain. You manufactured a crisis so they'd cut me out of the will, and you'd get everything. Blake wipes his eyes. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I needed them to choose me. Just once. You got to be the successful one, the special one, the one who made it out. I needed to be the one they chose. The confession hangs in the air between us. Did you forge my signature? I ask quietly. He doesn't answer. He just stands up and walks to the door. Blake. He stops but doesn't turn around. Did you forge my signature? I did what I had to do to save this family, he says. Then he leaves. I sit in the conference room alone, my brother's confession echoing in my ears. He's not sorry for what he did. He's sorry he got caught. Juliet calls me that evening with the forensic report. It's definitive, she says. The signature on the equity loan documents is not yours. The examiner found consistent differences in pen pressure, stroke speed, and letter form. Someone practiced your signature and got close, but not close enough. What do we do now? Now we file a police report for forgery, and we notify the lender that the loan was obtained fraudulently. They'll have to decide whether to pursue charges against Blake or just void the loan. Will my parents lose the cabin? Not if the loan is voided. The property goes back to being an unencumbered trust asset, which means the buyout can proceed normally. I should feel victorious. Instead, I just feel tired. File the police report, I say. Let's finish this. The police take my statement on Thursday morning. I bring all the documentation, the loan papers, the forensic report, the trust agreement, everything. The detective, a woman named Stephanie Reeves, listens carefully and takes detailed notes. This is pretty clear-cut, she says. Forgery, fraud, possibly identity theft, depending on what other documents your brother signed in your name. We'll need to interview him and your parents. My parents might not have known, I say quickly. Blake might have convinced them I'd already signed. Detective Reeves looks at me with something like pity. Miss Harper, I understand you want to protect them, but if they benefited from the forged documents, if they received loan proceeds based on fraud, they could be considered accomplices. The words hit me hard. My parents could face criminal charges because of Blake. What happens now? I ask. We investigate. We'll subpoena banking records, interview witnesses, build a case. If we find sufficient evidence, the district attorney will decide whether to file charges. That process could take months. I leave the police station feeling hollowed out. I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing, but it doesn't feel right. It feels like I just burned down my own family. My phone rings. It's my Aunt Patricia. Victoria, what have you done? Her voice is sharp, accusing. The police called your parents. They want to interview them about fraud. Your mother is hysterical. Blake forged my signature on loan documents, Patricia. He committed a crime. So you're sending your own brother to jail? I'm protecting myself and protecting my parents from losing everything because of Blake's choices. By destroying the family? By making sure the whole town knows your business? You're tearing us apart, Victoria. I didn't tear anything apart. I'm just the one who refused to pretend everything was fine. Your mother is devastated. Your father is sick. Blake is talking about... I don't even want to say it, and it's all because you couldn't just help your family when they needed you. They never needed me, Patricia. They needed my money. There's a difference. She hangs up on me. Within hours, the family group chat explodes. Cousins, aunts, uncles, people I haven't heard from in years, all of them condemning me. All of them taking Blake's side. The narrative has shifted from Victoria abandoned her family to Victoria is vindictive and cruel. I turn off my phone and sit in silence. Juliet calls me on my office line. How are you holding up? She asks. I'm fine. You're not fine. Nobody would be fine after this. What's the status of the trust buyout? With the fraud investigation underway, the administrator wants to wait for resolution before proceeding with the valuation. They don't want to appraise assets that might be seized as proceeds of crime. So we're in limbo. For now. But here's something interesting. The mortgage on your parents' house, the original refinance note, it's been sold. My heart skips. To who? A holding company called Riverstone Asset Management. They buy distressed notes at a discount and then either restructure them or foreclose. It's a common practice. Can we find out who owns Riverstone? I'm already looking into it, but Victoria, we talked about you potentially buying the note. This might be your chance. The note is already sold. To Riverstone, but Riverstone might be willing to sell it again, especially if they get a quick, clean profit. These companies care about returns, not emotions. If you offer them a fair price, they'll take it. I think about what this means. If I own the note, I control whether my parents keep their house. I could restructure the payments into something they can actually afford. I could protect them from Blake's creditors and from their own bad choices. But it also means becoming their landlord in a way. It means having power over them that could make our relationship even worse than it already is. How much would it cost, I ask. The note is for $350,000. But Riverstone probably bought it at a discount, maybe 280Ks or 300K. You'd need to offer enough above their purchase price to make it worth their while. Let's say 320Ks to be competitive. That's a lot of money just to control a debt. It's also the price of protecting your parents' home, and potentially the leverage you need to stop Blake from manipulating them further. I close my eyes. Every step of this journey has been about choosing between my peace and their comfort, between protecting myself and protecting them. Set up a meeting with Riverstone, I say, but do it through a shell company. I don't want my name on it yet. Smart. I'll create a holding entity and approach them as an investor interested in acquiring the note. Juliet? Am I becoming the villain they think I am? No. Villains don't buy their parents' debt to protect them. Villains let them drown. You're just refusing to drown with them. After we hang up, I sit at my desk and think about my grandfather. He built the trust to prevent exactly this situation, families destroying each other over money. He must have known that sometimes protecting people means they'll hate you for it. I pull out the letter I found, the one where he mentioned the trust. It's not much, but it should keep the kids from fighting after we're gone. Except we're fighting anyway. We're fighting because Blake wanted more, because my parents chose favoritism over fairness, because I refused to be the bottomless well of money and forgiveness. But maybe my grandfather knew fighting was inevitable. Maybe the trust wasn't meant to prevent conflict. It was meant to ensure that when the conflict came, everyone would have protection, even from each other, especially from each other. Juliet moves fast. Within 3 days, she's established a holding company called Clearwater Holdings LLC and made contact with Riverstone Asset Management. They're interested in selling. The note has been in default for 2 months, and they'd rather take a quick profit than deal with a lengthy foreclosure process. They want $315, Juliet tells me. That's $35 above what they paid. I think we can negotiate down to $305. Do it. But everything has to be clean, documented. I don't want anyone claiming I did something illegal or unethical. I'm already working with a compliance attorney to make sure every step is above board. The purchase will be transparent, the entity traceable, everything audit ready. The deal closes in a week. I now legally own the mortgage note on my parents' house. They don't know it yet. The servicing company will notify them of the ownership change, but it won't show my name. Just Clearwater Holdings, LLC. I feel strange about it. Powerful and guilty at the same time. What now? I asked Juliet. Now we wait. Let the forgery investigation continue. Let your parents realize they're running out of options. Then when the time is right, we approach them with a restructuring offer. What kind of offer? Reduced monthly payments, extended term, forgiveness of late fees. We make it affordable for them to keep their house. In exchange, they stop the smear campaign and drop Blake's claim to the trust assets. And if they refuse, then we enforce the note under its current terms. But I don't think it'll come to that. Once they understand their choices are accept help from Victoria or lose everything to foreclosure, they'll make the rational decision. I want to believe that. But I've learned that people don't always make rational decisions, especially when pride is involved. 2 weeks later, my father announces another family party. The invitation comes through the family group chat, which I haven't left, despite being basically excommunicated from family discussions. To celebrate our new will and new beginning as a family. Everyone welcome, Saturday, 3 p.m. It's intentional. He's throwing a party to celebrate writing me out of their lives. He's making it public, making it permanent, making sure everyone knows Blake won. Juliet calls me immediately. Are you going? She asks. Should I? That depends. Do you want to watch them celebrate, or do you want to make a move? What kind of move? The investigation is wrapping up. Detective Reeves told me they have enough evidence to charge Blake with forgery. They're waiting for the DA to approve. Your parents know this. They were interviewed yesterday. They also just got the notice that their mortgage note was sold to Clearwater Holdings. They're panicking. Probably. So this party, it's not a celebration, it's a show of force. They're trying to prove they're still in control, even as everything crumbles around them. What should I do? Go. Show up. Stay calm. Watch what happens. Sometimes people reveal themselves when they think they've won. Saturday arrives. I almost don't go. I sit in my car outside my childhood home for 15 minutes, watching people arrive. Relatives, neighbors, church friends, they're all dressed casually, carrying side dishes and smiling. I finally get out of the car and walk to the door. The conversation dies the moment I step inside. My mother sees me and freezes, a serving spoon in midair. My father stops talking mid-sentence. Blake stares at me from across the room, his face unreadable. "Victoria," my mother says finally, "we didn't think you'd come. I was invited." "You weren't," she stops herself. "Of course, you're always welcome." But her voice says the opposite. She wishes I hadn't come. They all wish I hadn't come. I help myself to a drink and stand in the corner, watching. My father makes a speech about family, about loyalty, about appreciating the people who stay. He toasts Blake as the son who never forgot where he came from. Blake smiles and raises his glass. He's playing the humble hero, the dutiful son. Everyone claps. Then Sienna, Blake's girlfriend, stands up. "Can I say something?" she asks. My father nods, smiling indulgently. "I just want to thank James and Nancy for welcoming me into this family," Sienna says. "Blake told me when we first started dating that family is everything to him. And after today, after seeing him finally get the recognition he deserves, I understand why. He's always put family first, even when it cost him." She looks directly at me when she says it. "Some people leave," she continues. "Some people chase money and success and forget where they came from. But Blake stayed. He sacrificed his own opportunities to take care of the people who matter most. That's real love. That's real loyalty." More applause. Blake wraps his arm around her, looking appropriately modest. I should leave. I should walk out and let them have their moment. But then Blake does something that changes everything. He walks over to me. "I'm glad you came," he says quietly, so only I can hear. "I wanted you to see this. I wanted you to see what it looks like when a family chooses right." "Enjoy it while it lasts," I say. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Detective Reeves is building a case against you for forgery. It means the equity loan you fraudulently obtained is going to be voided. And it means the trust buyout is going to proceed whether you like it or not." Blake's smile doesn't falter. "You think you're so smart, you think you've won, but you haven't seen the whole picture yet." "Then show me." He leans in closer. "Dad's new will? It doesn't just give everything to me. It specifically states that you are to receive nothing. Not a dollar, not a photo, not a memory. You're erased, completely. And when this house is mine," he pauses, enjoying the moment, "you'll never set foot in it again. You'll never come to another family gathering. You'll be nobody to us." The cruelty in his voice is so casual, so certain. "This house will never be yours," I say quietly. "It already is. Dad signed over power of attorney to me this morning. I manage everything now. Their money, their property, their decisions. You lost, Victoria. Accept it." He walks away, leaving me standing there, my heart pounding. Power of attorney. Blake has legal control over my parents' finances, which means he can make decisions about the mortgage, about the trust assets, about everything. He's not just manipulating them anymore, he's taken over completely. I leave the party without saying goodbye. I sit in my car and call Juliet, my hands shaking. "Blake has power of attorney," I say. "He can control everything." "No, he can't," Juliet says calmly. "Power of attorney doesn't override court orders or trust provisions. He can't stop the forgery investigation. He can't void the trust terms, and he certainly can't do anything about Clearwater Holdings owning the mortgage note. But he thinks he can. Let him think whatever he wants. We're about to show him how wrong he is." Monday morning, Juliet sends a letter to my parents' attorney, Hampton Legal Services, the same firm that sent the TRAP support agreement. The letter is professional, formal, and devastating. "Dear Counsel, this office represents Victoria Harper regarding the Harper Family Trust and related property matters. We are writing to inform you of the following. 1. Our client has obtained legal ownership of the mortgage note on the property located at 847 Maple Street through Clearwater Holdings LLC. All future correspondence regarding this note should be directed to this office. 2. The forgery investigation regarding equity loans on trust properties is ongoing. Any attempts to transfer, sell, or further encumber trust assets may constitute additional fraudulent activity. 3. Our client is prepared to offer a mortgage restructuring plan that would allow your clients to remain in their home under affordable terms. However, this offer is contingent on resolution of the will dispute and trust asset distribution. 4. Any power of attorney granted to Blake Harper does not supersede existing court orders or trust provisions. Please contact this office within 10 business days to discuss resolution options. My father's attorney calls Juliet within 2 hours. Your client can't do this, he says. She can't buy her parents' debt and use it as leverage. She absolutely can, Juliet responds. The note was legally available for purchase. Clearwater Holdings bought it at fair market value through proper channels. If you're claiming it's illegal for Miss Harper to own the note, you'll need to cite specific statutes. It's unconscionable. It's financial exploitation. What's unconscionable is your client's son forging his sister's signature to defraud lenders. What's unconscionable is your clients falsely accusing their daughter of abandonment to justify disinheriting her. My client is offering a solution that protects everyone. I suggest you advise your clients to consider it seriously. The attorney hangs up. Juliet calls me immediately. He's panicking. They're all panicking. They didn't expect you to have leverage. What happens now? We give them space to realize they're cornered. Meanwhile, the forgery charges are moving forward. Detective Reeves says the DA will file within the week. Blake will blame me for that too. Blake can blame whoever he wants. The evidence speaks for itself. That evening, I get a call from my mother. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Victoria, please. Her voice is small, broken. Please tell me you didn't buy our mortgage. I did. Why? Why would you do that to us? To protect you from losing your house. Blake put you in default. You were going to lose everything. So you're going to take it instead? No, I'm going to restructure the payments into something you can actually afford. I'm going to make it possible for you to stay in your home. But I need something in return. What? The truth. I need you to tell everyone the truth about what happened. About Blake's business, about the loans, about why you really changed the will. I need you to stop letting Blake control your lives. Silence on the other end. Mom, I can't, she whispers. If people find out what Blake did, we'll be humiliated. The whole town will know we made terrible choices. They'll know we failed as parents. But you're okay with them thinking I'm the villain? You can handle it. You're strong. You have your company, your life. You don't need this town's approval. We do. The honesty of it almost knocks me over. She's admitting it. They chose their reputation over their relationship with me. They chose protecting Blake's image over protecting me. I love you, Mom, but I can't fix this for you. You have to choose to fix it yourselves. By destroying Blake? By admitting everything we've done wrong? How is that fixing anything? By telling the truth? By stopping the lies? By choosing accountability over appearance? I can't do that, she says again. I won't. She hangs up. I sit in my apartment, the phone in my hand, and I finally understand. They will never choose me. Not because I'm not worth choosing, but because I represent truth, and truth is harder than lies. Truth requires them to look at themselves honestly, to admit their mistakes, to face consequences. It's easier to keep me as the villain. Juliet calls the next morning with news. Charges have been filed. The DA is prosecuting Blake for forgery and fraud. Your parents won't be charged. The DA doesn't think they knowingly participated, but Blake is facing up to 5 years if convicted. My stomach twists. 5 years. My brother could go to prison. How do you feel about that? Juliet asks. I don't know. Relieved? Guilty? Both? That's normal. But remember, you didn't forge documents. You didn't commit fraud. Blake did this to himself. The arrest happens on Wednesday. I hear about it through the family group chat, which explodes with outrage and blame. This is Victoria's fault. She turned her own brother in to the police. What kind of person does this to family? I read the messages and feel nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just a strange, cold clarity. These people don't know me. They don't want to know me. They want the version of me that fits their narrative. The ungrateful daughter, the heartless sister, the villain who destroyed a perfect family. The truth doesn't matter to them, but it matters to me. Blake makes bail within hours. His lawyer posts it, probably paid for with the last of my parents' credit. The family rallies around him naturally. They start a prayer chain at church. They set up a legal defense fund. They paint him as the victim of a vindictive sister who couldn't stand seeing him succeed. I watch it all unfold online from a distance. It should hurt more than it does. Instead, I feel a strange sense of freedom. I'm not responsible for their delusions anymore. Juliet continues working on the trust buyout. With the forgery charges filed, the trust administrator can now proceed with the asset valuation. They hire an independent appraiser to assess the cabin and rental properties. It'll take about 3 weeks, Juliet tells me. Once we have the valuation, you'll have 30 days to decide. Buy out your parents' share at the formula price or let them buy out yours. They can't afford to buy me out. I know, which means the assets will transfer to you and you'll pay them the appraised value over 3 years at the trust's fixed interest rate. And the house? Separate issue. Once the trust is settled, we'll make them the restructuring offer. Lower monthly payment, extended term, no balloon payment. They get to keep their home. You get assurance that Blake can't destroy them financially anymore. They'll hate me forever. Probably, but they'll be housed, solvent, and safe. Sometimes that's the best outcome available. The appraisal comes back at the end of the month. The cabin, 380 CALs. The 2 rental properties, 290K and 310K. Total, 980 CAs in trust assets. My parents' share, minus the formula discount, 416K, payable over 3 years at 3% interest. It's more money than they've probably ever had in their lives. But it's also less than they'd get if they could sell the properties outright, which they can't because the trust terms require the buyout to happen first. Juliet sends the formal buyout notice to my parents and their attorney. We include a detailed payment schedule and a reminder that this resolves the trust dispute according to the terms my grandfather established. We also include the mortgage restructuring proposal. Payment reduction from $2,800 per month to $1,600 per month, with the loan extended to 30 years at a fixed 4% interest rate. This is our olive branch, Juliet says. We're giving them a way to stay in their home and receive substantial cash from the trust buyout. All they have to do is accept reality. My father's attorney calls back the next day. He sounds tired. My clients want to meet with you, he says to Juliet. In person. No attorneys present. Just family. Absolutely not, Juliet responds. Any meeting happens with counsel present in a neutral location. They're not going to ambush her. They just want to talk. Then they can talk with me in the room. Non-negotiable. We schedule the meeting for the following Wednesday at a conference room in downtown Richmond. Neutral territory. Juliet will be there. My parents can bring their attorney if they want. They don't bring him. They show up alone. Just my mother and father, looking older and smaller than I remember. We sit across from each other at a long conference table. Juliet sits beside me, a stack of documents in front of her. My father speaks first. We didn't want it to come to this, he says. Neither did I. Blake made mistakes, we know that. But he's still our son. We can't just abandon him. I'm not asking you to abandon him. I'm asking you to stop letting him destroy you. My mother dabs at her eyes with a tissue. You bought our house debt. You're taking the cabin and the properties. You're sending your brother to jail. How are you not destroying us? I take a breath. Stay calm. Stay factual. I bought your mortgage note to prevent foreclosure. Without my intervention, you would have lost your house by now. The cabin and properties are being distributed according to Grandpa's trust, terms he set up to protect all of us. And Blake's criminal charges are the result of his own actions, not mine. But you're the one who called the police. I'm the one who reported a crime. Blake is the one who committed it. My father leans forward. Do you have any idea what this is doing to our family? To our reputation in this town? People won't look at us the same way ever again. That's because the truth came out. You'd rather I had stayed quiet and let Blake continue gambling with your future? We'd rather you had come to us first. Talked to us, given us a chance to fix it privately. I tried to talk to you. You held a public meeting to humiliate me. You rewrote your will to erase me. You let Blake build an entire narrative painting me as a villain. When exactly was I supposed to have a private conversation with you? Silence. Juliet slides a document across the table. This is the trust distribution agreement. It implements the buyout according to your father's terms. Terms your father and mother agreed to when they became beneficiaries. Victoria will purchase your share of the trust assets for $416K in dollars, paid over 3 years. In exchange, you'll receive the cabin and rental properties transferred to her name. What about the house? My mother asks. Separate agreement. Clearwater Holdings, Victoria's entity, will restructure your mortgage. Your monthly payment drops from $2,800 to $1,600. Your loan term extends to 30 years. You keep your home. My father stares at the papers. So we have to accept that Victoria wins everything. Nobody's winning, I say quietly. We're all losing something. You're losing the properties Grandpa left you. I'm losing my family. But at least this way, you're protected. Protected from what? From Blake. From more debt. From foreclosure. From your own bad decisions. My mother stands up abruptly. I can't do this. I can't sit here and listen to my daughter tell me I made bad decisions. We did our best. We made choices we thought were right at the time. I know you did, but now those choices have consequences, and I'm offering you a way to manage those consequences without losing everything. This isn't managing. This is punishment. She walks out. My father follows, but he pauses at the door. You used to be such a kind little girl, he says. I don't know what happened to you. I grew up, I answer, and I learned that kindness doesn't mean letting people destroy you. After they leave, Juliet and I sit in silence. They're not going to sign, I say. They will. They have to. They have no other options. What if they'd rather lose everything than accept help from me? Then they lose everything, and it's still not your fault. Victoria, you've done everything right. You've followed the law, respected the trust terms, offered generous restructuring. If they choose pride over survival, that's on them. I want to believe her. But I know my parents. Pride has always mattered more to them than almost anything else. I'm wrong. They sign. It takes 2 weeks and multiple conversations with their attorney, but eventually they sign both agreements, the trust buyout and the mortgage restructuring. They don't call me. They don't apologize. The documents just arrive at Juliet's office with both signatures, notarized and dated. It's done, Juliet says when she calls me. The cabin and rental properties transfer to you. You'll make the first payment to your parents within 30 days. The mortgage restructuring takes effect immediately. I should feel victorious. Instead, I just feel tired. What about Blake? I ask. His trial is scheduled for 6 months from now. The prosecutor is offering a plea deal, reduced charges if he admits to the forgery and agrees to pay restitution. Will he take it? Unknown. His attorney is advising him to, but Blake keeps insisting he did nothing wrong. He claims you manipulated the evidence. Of course he does. Blake will never accept responsibility. It's not in his nature. The trust transfer happens at the county recorder's office. I sign papers. My parents sign papers. The properties officially change hands. We do all of this in separate appointments so we don't have to see each other. When it's finished, I own the cabin where we spent summers as kids. I own the rental properties my grandparents bought as investments. I own the debt on my parents' house. I also own the responsibility for all of it. That night, I drive to the cabin. It's been years since I've been here. The key is still hidden in the same place it always was, under the third rock to the left of the front step. The cabin smells like dust and memories. I walk through slowly, touching things. The old couch where we played board games, the fireplace where my grandfather told stories, the kitchen table where we ate pancakes on Saturday mornings. This place was happy once. Now it's just mine. I sit on the porch as the sun sets over the lake, and I let myself cry. Not for the family I lost. They were already lost before this started. I cry for the family I thought I had. The family I needed them to be. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You destroyed everything. I hope you're proud of yourself. Blake. He must have gotten a new phone. I block the number and go back inside. The next few months pass in a strange limbo. My parents make their mortgage payments on time now that they're affordable. They receive their first check from the trust buyout, $11,560, the first of 36 monthly payments. They use it to pay off some of Blake's debts. I hear this through my Aunt Patricia, who started speaking to me again now that the dust has settled. She doesn't apologize for taking their side, but she stops calling me names, which I suppose is progress. Your mother misses you, Patricia tells me over coffee one afternoon. She has a strange way of showing it. She's ashamed, They both are. They know they made mistakes, but they don't know how to admit it without losing face. So they'd rather lose me? Patricia sighs. Pride is a terrible thing. It makes people choose the strangest hills to die on. Blake takes the plea deal 2 weeks before his trial was set to begin. He pleads guilty to 1 count of forgery, gets 3 years probation, community service, and has to pay restitution to the lender whose forms he forged. No jail time. But he has a criminal record now, which will make everything harder for him. The family doesn't know how to process it. Some people still blame me. Others quietly admit Blake brought this on himself. The town's narrative starts to shift, slowly, as more details come out. People learn about the failed business, the secret loans, the forged signatures. They learn my parents almost lost their house. They learn I was the one who prevented it. The story of the ungrateful daughter gets complicated by facts. 6 months after the buyout, I get a letter. It's handwritten, my mother's careful script on cream-colored stationery. Victoria, I don't know how to say this, so I'll just say it. I'm sorry. Your father and I made terrible choices. We let Blake manipulate us because we were afraid of admitting he needed help. We blamed you because it was easier than facing our own failures as parents. You tried to protect us, and we fought you every step of the way. You bought our house debt to save us, and we called it cruelty. You enforced Grandpa's trust to protect everyone, and we called it greed. We were wrong about all of it. I don't expect you to forgive us. I'm not sure we deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that we see it now. We see what you did, and why you did it, and how much it cost you. You were the brave one. You were the one who loved us enough to make the hard choices. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that. Love, Mom. I read the letter 3 times, sitting at my kitchen table, tears running down my face. It's not enough. A letter doesn't undo the damage, doesn't heal the wounds, doesn't restore what was broken. But it's something. It's a beginning. I don't respond to the letter immediately. I need time to process it, to decide what it means for me, what I want my relationship with my parents to look like going forward, if I want a relationship at all. Juliet advises caution. Apologies are easy. Changed behavior is hard. Wait to see if they follow through. So I wait. 2 weeks later, my father calls me. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Victoria, he says. His voice is different, quieter, humbler. Can we talk? In person? About what? About everything. About what we did to you. About how to move forward. We meet at a coffee shop in Richmond, neutral territory away from our hometown. My father shows up alone, which surprises me. He looks older than he did 6 months ago, like the weight of everything has physically aged him. We sit across from each other with coffee. Neither of us drinks. I need you to know something, he says finally. I was wrong, not just about the will or the money, about everything. I was wrong to let Blake manipulate us. I was wrong to blame you. I was wrong to care more about what the town thought than about what was right. Okay. I know that's not enough. I know an apology doesn't fix what we broke, but I need you to hear it anyway. I nod, not trusting my voice. Blake is moving away, my father continues. He got a job in Raleigh. He's leaving at the end of the month. Your mother and I think it's for the best. He needs distance, and so do we. How do you feel about that? Relieved, guilty, both. He's our son, and we love him, but we can't let him drag us down anymore. We can't keep enabling him. This is more self-awareness than I've ever heard from my father. What changed? I ask. He's quiet for a long moment. I watched you lose everything, your family, your reputation, your relationship with all of us, because you refused to lie. And I realized that's what integrity looks like. Real integrity, not the performance of it. You could have walked away, cut us off completely, let us face the consequences alone. But you didn't. You protected us even when we were actively working against you. I had to. You're my parents. No, you didn't have to. You chose to, and that choice showed me everything I needed to know about who you are and who we failed to be. We sit in silence. It's not comfortable, but it's not hostile either. It's just real. Where do we go from here, I ask. I don't know. I'd like to rebuild our relationship if you're willing, but I understand if you're not. I understand if the damage is too deep. I think about what I want, not what they need, not what would make things easier. What I actually want. I want honesty. I say finally, No more narratives, no more protecting images. If we're going to have a relationship, it has to be built on truth. I can do that. And I want you to correct the record. With the family, with the church, with everyone who believed your story about me. I need people to know the truth about what happened. He flinches. That's gonna be hard. I know. But it's necessary. I won't rebuild a relationship on a foundation of lies, even if those lies benefit you. My father nods slowly. You're right. I'll do it. I'll tell everyone what really happened. The debt, Blake's business, the forgery, all of it. And Mom? She's ready too. She's the one who suggested we reach out to you. We talk for another hour. It's painful and awkward and full of long silences, but it's also honest, which is more than we've had in years. When we finally stand to leave, my father hesitates. Can I hug you? He asks. It's such a simple question, but it acknowledges everything. That he doesn't have the automatic right to my affection anymore, that boundaries matter, that my consent is required. I let him hug me. It feels strange, like hugging a stranger who used to be family. But it's a start. Over the next few weeks, my father keeps his word. He talks to family members, church friends, neighbors. He tells them about Blake's failed business, the loans, the forgery. He admits he and my mother made mistakes. He corrects the narrative about me. It's messy. Some people don't want to hear it. Some people prefer the story where I'm the villain, because it's simpler. But slowly, the truth spreads. My Aunt Patricia calls me one evening. Your father told me everything. Everything. Victoria, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have asked questions instead of just believing their version. You weren't the only one. That doesn't make it right. I judged you without knowing the full story. I'm ashamed of that. I appreciate you saying so. One by one, family members reach out. Some apologize. Some just acknowledge that they were wrong about me. A few remain convinced I'm still the villain, but their numbers shrink. The town narrative shifts. People start talking about Blake's actions instead of my supposed greed. My parents are pitied rather than praised. The story becomes, poor James and Nancy, taken advantage of by their own son. Thank God Victoria stepped in. It's not perfect. I'm now cast as the hero, which is just as reductive as being cast as the villain. But at least it's closer to the truth. Blake leaves for Raleigh without saying goodbye to me. I hear about it through Patricia. He's working at a sporting goods store, living in a small apartment, trying to rebuild his life. I don't wish him ill. But I don't wish him well either. I just wish him away from my family, where he can't do more damage. My mother invites me to Sunday dinner. I hesitate, then accept. It's awkward at first. We're all trying too hard, being too polite. But as the evening progresses, something shifts. We start talking about real things. My company, their retirement plans, the cabin. Are you going to keep it? My mother asks. The cabin? Yes. I've been fixing it up. New roof, new dock, some interior updates. That's good. It should be used, not just sitting empty. I was thinking, maybe we could have a family weekend there sometime, if you want. My mother's eyes fill with tears. I'd like that. It's not forgiveness yet. It's not full reconciliation. But it's movement in the right direction. 3 months after the Sunday dinner invitation, my parents do something that surprises me. They host a family gathering and publicly acknowledge what happened. They invite everyone, the same people who were at that terrible church meeting, the same people who witnessed their false narrative about me. They serve coffee and cookies in their living room and tell the truth. My father stands up and speaks first. We asked you all here because we need to correct something. Several months ago, many of you heard our version of events regarding Victoria and our family. We told you she abandoned us, that she refused to help when we needed her, that success changed her. None of that was true. People shift uncomfortably. My mother sits beside him, crying quietly. The truth is, we made terrible financial decisions. We enabled our son Blake to take out loans using our home as collateral. When those loans went bad, instead of facing the consequences, we tried to make Victoria responsible for fixing our mistakes. When she asked questions and wanted to understand what was happening, we painted her as greedy and unloving. Pastor Andrews, who's sitting in the front row, looks stunned. Blake forged Victoria's signature on legal documents. He committed fraud, and we knew, or should have known, that something was wrong. But we protected him because we were ashamed. And we blamed Victoria because it was easier than admitting we failed as parents. My father's voice cracks. Victoria didn't destroy our family. She saved it. She bought our house debt to prevent foreclosure. She enforced our father's trust to protect assets that Blake would have squandered. She made hard choices that we should have made ourselves. My mother stands up, her hands shaking. I owe my daughter an apology in front of all of you. Not because a private apology isn't enough, but because I slandered her publicly, and I need to correct that publicly. Victoria, if you're watching. She looks at her phone, which is propped up on the mantel, recording. I'm so sorry. For everything. For failing you. For hurting you. For choosing comfort over truth. You deserved better from us. The room is silent. Pastor Andrews stands up. James, Nancy, thank you for having the courage to tell the truth. This can't have been easy. It wasn't, my father says, but it was necessary. They post the video to the family group chat and to Facebook. Within hours, it's been viewed hundreds of times. Comments flood in, some supportive, some shocked, some still insisting there must be more to the story. But the narrative has shifted permanently. I'm no longer the villain. I'm the daughter who protected her family even when they didn't deserve it. My mother calls me that evening. Did you see the video? She asks. I did. Was it enough? I think about that question. Is it enough? Can any apology be enough after what they did? It's a start, I say finally. It's an important start. Can we try again? Can we try to be a family? We can try, but it's going to take time. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. I know, I need you to know we're committed to this. To being better, to being the parents you deserved all along. Over the next year, we take small steps. Sunday dinners once a month. Phone calls once a week. Eventually, the cabin weekend happens. Just the three of us, carefully navigating our new relationship. We don't talk about Blake much. He's a wound that's still too raw, a failure we all share responsibility for. He calls my parents occasionally, and they send him money sometimes. But it's different now. They've set boundaries. They've learned. The trust payments continue like clockwork. Every month, my parents receive their check. Every month, they make their mortgage payment to Clearwater Holdings. It's a strange arrangement. I'm essentially paying them while they pay me. But it works. The cabin becomes my refuge. I spend weekends there, writing and thinking and healing. Sometimes my parents visit. Sometimes friends from the company come up. Sometimes I'm alone, which is when I do my best thinking. One evening, sitting on the dock watching the sunset, I get a text from Blake. I know you won't want to hear from me, but I need to say something. You were right. About everything. I ruined things for everyone, and I blamed you because I couldn't face what I'd done. I'm working with a therapist now, trying to figure out why I did what I did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know, you weren't wrong. I was. I read it several times. Part of me wants to respond, to engage, to try to rebuild that relationship too. But another part of me knows some bridges burn for a reason. I type back, I appreciate you saying that. I hope therapy helps. I hope you build a good life in Raleigh, but I'm not ready to have you back in my life yet. Maybe someday. He doesn't respond. I don't expect him to. 2 years after the trust buyout, I make the final payment to my parents. $460,500 total, spread over 36 months, exactly as the trust terms required. Juliet sends the final paperwork. It's done. The trust is settled. The properties are fully yours. Your parents have received everything they're entitled to. That's it. That's it. You fulfilled every obligation, legal and moral. Whatever happens from here is your choice. I sit with that for a moment. My choice. For so long, my choices were made for me. By family obligation, by crisis, by other people's mistakes. Now I get to choose. I choose to keep the cabin. I choose to maintain the mortgage restructuring that lets my parents stay in their home. I choose to have a careful, boundaried relationship with them. I choose peace over revenge, protection over punishment, and I choose to remember this. Love without respect is just control. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be controlled. The legal battles may be over, but Blake doesn't stop. 3 months after sending that apologetic text, he starts a new campaign, this time aimed at my professional reputation. It begins with an anonymous article on a gossip website. Tech CEO steals family home through financial manipulation. The article is full of half-truths and outright lies. painting me as a ruthless businesswoman who took advantage of my elderly parents' financial vulnerability. My PR team catches it immediately. Someone's feeding the press a narrative, my communications director Angela tells me. The timing is suspicious, and the details are too specific to be coincidental. It's Blake, I say. It has to be. Can you prove it? Not yet, but I know my brother. The article doesn't get much traction initially, but then a local columnist picks it up, writing a more polished version. When success means sacrificing family, the troubling story of Victoria Harper. That one spreads. It gets shared on social media. People who don't know me, who don't know the full story, start commenting about how wealth corrupts people, how I'm an example of everything wrong with corporate America. My board's ethics counsel, Warren, calls me into a meeting. We need to address this, he says, not because we think there's any truth to it, but because perception matters. Investors are asking questions. Some of our partners are concerned about negative publicity. What do you want me to do? Document everything. Provide the board with a full timeline of what happened with your family. The trust, the forgery case, the loan restructuring. We need to show that every action you took was legal and above board. You want me to expose my family's problems to the board? I want you to protect yourself, and by extension, protect the company. I spend a week compiling everything. Documents, emails, legal filings, the video of my parents' apology. I put it all in a presentation and deliver it to the board's ethics committee. They listen without interruption. When I finish, Warren leans back in his chair. Miss Harper, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen executives try to hide financial improprieties, family scandals, legal troubles. You did the opposite. You documented everything, acted transparently, and prioritized legal compliance over convenience. That's exactly what we want to see. So I'm not in trouble? You're not in trouble. In fact, the committee is impressed with how you handled an extraordinarily difficult situation. We're going to issue a statement supporting you and clarifying that the allegations in the press are unfounded. The board's statement helps. Major tech publications reach out for my side of the story. I do one carefully controlled interview with a respected journalist, providing context without attacking my family. The truth comes out. Not just about the financial situation, but about Blake's forgery conviction, the trust terms, everything. The narrative flips again. Now I'm the CEO who did the right thing, despite enormous personal cost. Blake's campaign backfires spectacularly, but he doesn't stop trying. He creates fake social media accounts to spread rumors. He contacts journalists with false information. He even tries to sue me for elder abuse. A lawsuit that gets thrown out within weeks because he can't prove any of his claims. Each attack gets weaker. Each attempt more desperate. Finally, Juliet calls with news. Blake violated his probation. He failed to complete his community service hours and missed meetings with his probation officer. They're revoking his probation. What does that mean? It means he'll serve the rest of his sentence, probably 6 to 9 months. The judge doesn't look kindly on probation violations, especially when the violator is also engaging in harassment. He's going to jail. Yes. And Victoria? This is not your fault. Blake made his choices. I know she's right, but I still feel the weight of it. My brother is going to jail, and even though he brought it on himself, even though he gave me no choice, it still hurts. My parents take the news hard. My mother calls me, sobbing. Can you help him? Can you do something? There's nothing I can do, Mom. He violated his probation. That's between him and the court. But he's your brother. He's also an adult who made choices. I can't keep rescuing him from consequences. Please, Victoria, for me, for us. No. It's the hardest word I've ever said, but it's also the most necessary. My mother hangs up. She doesn't call again for weeks. When she finally does, her voice is different. Resigned, maybe, or just exhausted. You were right, she says. About Blake, about consequences, about all of it. We kept trying to save him from himself, and it only made things worse. I'm sorry it had to go this far. Me too. Blake serves 7 months. He gets released early for good behavior. He doesn't contact me when he gets out, and I don't reach out to him. We've said everything there is to say. My Aunt Patricia tells me he's working at a different sporting goods store, living quietly, staying out of trouble. He's dating someone new. He's seeing a therapist regularly. Maybe he's learning. Maybe he's changing, maybe not. Either way, it's no longer my problem to solve. 5 years after the trust buyout, I get invited to speak at a business conference about leadership and family dynamics. The organizer knows my story, everyone in tech does by now, and wants me to talk about navigating personal crises while running a company. I almost say no. Talking about my family publicly still feels raw, exposing. But Juliet convinces me it's time. You've built distance from it now, she says. You've healed enough to offer perspective, and people need to hear this, that you can set boundaries with family and still be a good person. So I say yes. The conference is in Chicago. I stand on stage in front of 3,000 people and tell my story. Not all of it. Some things remain private, but enough. I talk about the will, about the trust, about choosing legal protection over emotional manipulation. I talk about buying my parents' house debt, about the forgery charges, about making decisions that hurt in the short term but protected everyone in the long term. I talk about love without respect being control. The room is silent when I finish. Then someone stands up and starts clapping, then another. Then the whole room is on its feet. Afterward, dozens of people approach me. They have their own stories. Parents who demanded too much, siblings who took advantage, families that punished success. They thank me for talking about it, for making them feel less alone. One woman, probably in her 50s, takes my hand. My brother stole from my mother for years, she says. Everyone told me to forgive him, to keep the family together. I felt like a monster for wanting to protect her legally. But you just gave me permission to do what I knew was right. You always had that permission, I tell her. You just needed someone to say it out loud. The conference talk leads to more speaking engagements. I start getting requests from family law organizations, from business groups, from universities. Everyone wants to hear about navigating family conflict ethically. I become, strangely, an expert in something I never wanted to experience. My parents watch some of my talks online. They see me discuss what happened with our family in professional, measured terms. They see me acknowledge the pain while also standing firm on my choices. My mother calls me after one particularly well-received talk. I watched your keynote from the Family Law Association, she says. You talked about us. I did. I hope that's okay. It is. You were fair. You talked about our mistakes without making us sound like monsters. You talked about your choices without sounding self-righteous. That's not easy to do. I've had a lot of practice. Victoria, I need to tell you something. Watching you talk about what happened, it made me realize how much strength it took to do what you did. Not just the legal stuff, but the emotional work of setting boundaries with people you love. I'm proud of you. The words hit harder than I expect. My mother is proud of me. Not for my company, not for my success, but for the hardest thing I've ever done, protecting myself while still protecting them. Thank you, I whisper. And I'm sorry, again. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know I'll probably say it 1,000,000 more times. Because we failed you, and I'll spend the rest of my life wishing we'd done better. I know, Mom, I know. That year, I make a decision about the cabin. I've been using it as my private retreat, but it feels wrong to keep it all to myself. The cabin was always meant for family, for gathering, for memories. So I start inviting people. My parents come up a few times a year. My Aunt Patricia and her kids use it for a week every summer. I even let some of my employees rent it at cost for family vacations. The cabin becomes what it was always supposed to be, a place of connection, not isolation. My father and I start a tradition. Once a month, we go fishing from the cabin dock. We don't talk much. We just sit side by side with our lines in the water, watching the sun move across the sky. One day, after hours of comfortable silence, my father says, "I used to wonder if you'd ever forgive us. But I've realized that's not the right question." What's the right question? Whether you'd ever trust us again. Forgiveness is about letting go of anger. Trust is about believing someone won't hurt you the same way twice. Forgiveness you gave us fairly quickly. Trust, that's taking longer. Do you blame me? No, trust has to be earned. We're still earning it. You're doing better, I tell him. Every month, every conversation, every moment you choose honesty over comfort, you're rebuilding it. He nods, not looking at me. Good, because I plan to spend whatever time I have left proving you can rely on us. Blake reaches out after 6 years. He sends an email, not a text, something more formal, more considered. Victoria, I know you said you weren't ready to have me back in your life. I respect that. I'm not asking to be part of your life again. I just wanted to let you know I'm doing better. I've been sober for 3 years. I'm engaged. I'm managing a store now, not just working retail. I've paid back all the restitution I owed. I'm not the person I was when I hurt you and Mom and Dad. I don't expect you to believe that or care, but I needed to tell you anyway. I'm sorry for all of it. You deserved a better brother. I hope you found peace, Blake. I read it several times. Part of me wants to respond, to rebuild that bridge, but I've learned that some relationships need to stay in the past. I write back, Blake, I'm glad you're doing better. I hope you continue to heal and build a good life. I'm not ready to reopen our relationship, but I wish you well, Victoria. It's honest, it's boundaried, it's enough. 10 years after the trust buyout, my company hits a major milestone. We cross $300 billion in valuation, making it one of the most valuable tech companies in the world. Forbes does a profile on me, the CEO who chose family, then chose herself. The article talks about the trust buyout, about my parents, about building a company while navigating personal crisis. It's fair, balanced, and ultimately complimentary. My parents frame it and hang it in their living room. When I visit for Sunday dinner, now a monthly tradition, I see it on the wall beside family photos. You hung it, I say. Of course we did, my mother says. We're proud of you. Not just for the company, but for everything. For being strong enough to do what was right even when it cost you everything. It didn't cost me everything. I still have you. Barely. You almost lost us because we were too stupid and proud to see what you were doing. But you did see it eventually. That's what matters. We eat dinner. We talk about nothing important. My father's garden, my mother's book club, plans for the cabin next summer. Normal family stuff. Later, as I'm leaving, my father walks me to my car. You know what I think about sometimes? He asks. What? Your grandfather. What he'd think of how everything turned out? The trust he set up? It worked exactly like he intended. It protected the family when we were trying to destroy each other. He was smarter than all of us. He was. But you know what else? You're like him. You have that same ability to see what needs to be done and do it, even when it's hard. Even when everyone hates you for it. I'm not sure that's a compliment. It is. It's the highest compliment I can give. He hugs me before I get in my car. It feels natural now, not forced. It took 10 years, but we rebuilt something real. I drive home thinking about family, about trust, about the long road from betrayal to healing. It's not a straight line. It's messy and painful and full of setbacks, but it's possible. That's what I want people to know. Healing is possible, even after everything falls apart. Boundaries are possible, even with people you love. You can choose yourself without destroying everyone else. You can have clean justice and still have love. It just takes time, and courage, and the willingness to let contracts do what arguments can't. 15 years after the trust buyout, something unexpected happens. My father has a real heart attack, not the manufactured crisis Blake invented, but an actual medical emergency. He survives, but it changes everything. I get the call from my mother at 2 a.m. Her voice is shaking but controlled. Victoria, your father's in the hospital. Heart attack. He's stable now, but it was close. I'm on the road within 30 minutes, driving through empty highways to get to the hospital. When I arrive, my mother is in the waiting room, looking small and scared. She stands when she sees me. We hug without speaking. How is he? I ask. Awake. Asking for you. The doctor explains that my father had a significant cardiac event, but responded well to treatment. He'll need surgery, lifestyle changes, medication, but he should recover fully. I sit with him in his hospital room. He looks older than his 77 years, fragile in the hospital bed with wires and monitors attached to his chest. You came, he says. Of course I came. I wasn't sure you would, after everything. Dad, we've been having Sunday dinners for 10 years. Why wouldn't I come? He smiles weakly. Because I'm still half convinced you hate us for what we did. I don't hate you. I never did. I was hurt, angry, betrayed, but I never hated you. That's more grace than we deserved. We sit in silence for a moment. Then my father reaches for my hand. I need to tell you something, he says, in case the surgery doesn't go well. in case I don't get another chance. You're gonna be fine. Let me say it anyway. The trust, your grandfather's trust, I understand now why he built it the way he did. He knew families could turn on each other. He knew money could destroy love, so he created rules that no one could manipulate, terms that protected everyone equally. I know. But here's what I didn't understand until now. He didn't just protect the assets. He protected the relationships. By forcing us to follow legal processes, by making us face consequences, he gave us a framework for getting back to each other. Without the trust, we'd have destroyed ourselves completely. With it, we had a path back to being a family. His words hit deep. I'd never thought about it that way. That the legal structure didn't just distribute property fairly, it created conditions for reconciliation. You did the same thing, my father continues. When you bought our mortgage note, when you triggered the trust buyout, you aren't punishing us. You were creating a framework for us to survive our own worst instincts. You gave us rules when we couldn't trust our emotions. I was trying to protect everyone. You did. You protected us from Blake, you protected us from ourselves, and you protected yourself from us. That took wisdom I didn't have at your age. Hell, wisdom I didn't have at my age. The surgery goes well. My father recovers slowly but steadily. I visit him every few days during his recovery, sometimes with my mother, sometimes alone. We talk about things we've never discussed, his childhood, his own complicated relationship with his father, his regrets. I wish I'd been braver, he tells me one afternoon. I wish I'd stood up to Blake earlier, set boundaries, demanded accountability, but I was afraid of losing him, afraid of being seen as a failure if my son didn't turn out right. You weren't a failure. You were human. That's generous of you to say. It's true. You made mistakes, but you also learned from them. You changed. That's not nothing. My father's health scare shifts something in the family. My mother becomes less focused on appearances, more focused on substance. They start attending a support group for families affected by addiction and financial abuse. Blake's therapist recommended it years ago, but they'd been too proud to go. They make new friends there, people who understand what it's like to love someone who's harmed you, to rebuild after betrayal, to choose health over enabling. My mother calls me after their third meeting. Victoria, I met a woman tonight whose daughter sued her to enforce a family trust. The woman was so angry, so bitter. She kept talking about how ungrateful her daughter was, how she'd torn the family apart over money. That sounds familiar. I listened to her story, and I realized that was us 5 years ago. That was me blaming you for enforcing boundaries that protected everyone. And I had to excuse myself because I couldn't stop crying. Why? Because I saw how much pain I caused you by being that person. By being so blind, so defensive, so wrapped up in my own narrative that I couldn't see you were saving us. Mom, let me finish. I went back in after I composed myself, and I told that woman my story. I told her about you, about the trust, about everything. I told her that my daughter was right, and it took me years to see it, and I've spent those years trying to earn back her trust. And you know what she said? What? She said, I wish my daughter would still talk to me. Her daughter cut her off completely 3 years ago. No contact, no relationship, nothing. And this woman is sitting in that support group still insisting she did nothing wrong, still blaming her daughter instead of learning from her. My mother's voice breaks. I could have been her, Victoria. If you'd given up on us, if you'd walked away completely, I'd be that bitter woman in a support group, wondering why my daughter won't speak to me. But you didn't give up. You set boundaries. Yes, you protected yourself, absolutely, but you didn't close the door forever. You left it open just enough that we could find our way back to you when we were ready. I didn't know if you'd ever be ready. Neither did we. But you gave us the chance. That's more than we deserved. 20 years after the trust buyout, I stand in front of a room full of law students at the University of Virginia. I'm guest lecturing for a class on family law and ethics. The professor, a woman named Dr. Helena Walsh, invited me to talk about my experience navigating family conflict through legal structures. Many people think of law as cold, impersonal, adversarial, I begin. But in my experience, legal frameworks can actually create space for healing. They can provide clarity when emotions are overwhelming. They can protect people from their own worst impulses. I tell them about the trust, about my grandfather's foresight, about the buyout clause that saved my family from complete destruction. The trust didn't prevent conflict, I explain. It managed conflict. It said, "You're going to fight. Families do. But here are the rules for fighting fairly. Here's how to ensure everyone is protected even when you can't stand each other." A student raises her hand. "But didn't using legal tools damage your relationship with your family? Wasn't there a cost to being so transactional?" There was a cost. Absolutely. For years, my parents saw me as the enemy. My extended family thought I was cruel. I lost relationships, sleep, peace of mind. But here's what I gained: self-respect, boundaries, safety, and ultimately, a real relationship with my parents instead of a codependent one. What's the difference? Another student asks. A codependent relationship requires you to sacrifice yourself to keep the peace. A real relationship allows you to be yourself and still be loved. The legal framework, the trust, the mortgage restructuring, all of it, forced us out of codependency and into reality. It wasn't comfortable, but it was necessary. After class, several students approach me with their own stories. One woman tells me about her father draining her college fund to support her brother's gambling addiction. Another describes watching his mother lose her house because she kept co-signing loans for his sister. "Did you ever feel guilty?" the young woman asks me, "for protecting yourself when your family needed you?" "Every single day, for years," I tell her honestly. But I've learned that guilt is often just a tool people use to control you. Real guilt comes from actually doing something wrong. Protecting yourself from exploitation isn't wrong, it's survival. Dr. Walsh walks me to my car after class. "That was excellent," she says. "My students need to hear that message, that boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary." I wish I'd heard it at their age. You're teaching them now. That matters. As I drive home, I think about how strange it is that my family's worst period has become my teaching material. The pain that nearly destroyed us is now helping other people avoid similar mistakes. My phone rings. It's Blake. We've spoken maybe 5 times in the past 20 years. Brief, cordial conversations at family funerals and weddings. He's married now, has 2 kids, manages 3 sporting goods stores. By all accounts, he's doing well. "Victoria? Do you have a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" "I watched your lecture, the one from UVA. Someone posted it online. My stomach tightens. I talked about him in that lecture, though I didn't use his name. I discussed the forgery, the manipulation, the enabling. Blake, I don't apologize. It was fair, it was honest, and it was necessary, okay? I'm calling because my daughter Emma, she's 15, and she's watching how I parent, how I handle money, how I treat her mother, and I realize she's learning from my example, just like I learned from Dad's example. That's good. That's important. The thing is, I don't want to teach her what I learned. I don't want her to think manipulation is love, or that family means never facing consequences. So I've been trying to do better. Be better. How's that going? Hard. Really hard. But I'm trying. And I watched your lecture and I thought, maybe you could talk to her sometime. Tell her your side of what happened so she understands why boundaries matter, why honesty matters, why you can love someone and still protect yourself from them. I'm quiet for a moment, processing the request. Blake wants me to teach his daughter the lessons he learned too late. I'd be willing to do that, I say finally. But only if you're ready to tell her the truth about what you did. All of it. I've already told her. Not all the details, but the broad strokes. She knows I made terrible choices that hurt a lot of people. She knows you stopped me from hurting them worse. She knows I went to jail. And she still wants to talk to me? She says you're her hero. She says anyone who can set boundaries with family and not back down is someone she wants to learn from. I meet Emma 3 weeks later at a coffee shop in Richmond. She's tall, serious, with Blake's eyes but none of his manipulative charm. She shakes my hand formally and orders black coffee, which seems very adult for 15. "Thank you for meeting me," she says. "My dad said you might not want to." Why would he think that? Because he hurt you, and usually when someone hurts you, you don't help their kid. Usually no, but your dad and I have come to an understanding over the years. We're not close, but we're not enemies either. What are you? We're family members who learned hard lessons about boundaries and respect. Emma pulls out a notebook. Can I ask you questions? I'm writing an essay for school about family dynamics and conflict resolution. My teacher said I should interview someone who's actually been through it. We spend 2 hours talking. She asks thoughtful questions about the trust, about the buyout, about my decision-making process. She asks how I knew when to fight and when to walk away, how I managed guilt, how I rebuilt relationships after they'd been broken. Did you ever regret it, she asks. Enforcing the trust, buying the mortgage note, all of it? I regretted the pain it caused. I regretted that it was necessary, but I never regretted doing it. Because the alternative was letting your dad destroy my parents financially, and I couldn't do that. Even though they blamed you? Even though, because protecting people sometimes means they'll hate you for it. That doesn't make it wrong. Emma writes that down carefully. My dad says he wishes he'd been more like you, she says. He says if he'd been honest and brave instead of manipulative and scared, everyone would have been better off. Your dad is being too hard on himself. He was young, desperate, making bad choices. The important thing is he learned from them. Did he though? Because he's still? She trails off, uncertain. Still what? He still tries to manage my mom sometimes. Not with money, but with decisions. He suggests things in a way that makes it hard for her to say no. And I see her struggling with it, wanting to set boundaries but afraid of upsetting him. I lean forward. Emma, can I tell you something important? Yeah. Change is hard. Your dad has done a lot of work, and he's genuinely different than he was 20 years ago. But old patterns don't disappear completely. They get quieter, but they're still there. Your mom needs to learn to set her own boundaries. And you, I pause. You need to learn that watching isn't the same as participating. You can see the pattern without fixing it for her. But shouldn't I help her? You can support her, but you can't protect her from her own choices. That's something I had to learn about my parents. Emma nods slowly, writing more notes. When we finish, she thanks me and asks if we can meet again sometime. Anytime, I tell her. You have my number. After she leaves, I sit in the coffee shop thinking about generational patterns, about how trauma and dysfunction get passed down, about how hard it is to break those cycles. But Emma is asking the right questions. She's learning young what took me decades to understand. Maybe that's how healing works. Not all at once in one generation, but gradually, each generation doing slightly better than the one before. 25 years after the trust buyout, my mother dies peacefully in her sleep at age 81. She'd been healthy right up until the end. No long decline, no suffering. Just here one day, gone the next. My father finds her in the morning. He calls me, his voice hollow. She's gone. Victoria, your mother's gone. I drive to the house, their house, though technically I still own the mortgage note. My father is sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. Did she suffer? I ask. No, she went to bed reading. When I woke up, she was just peaceful, like she was still sleeping. We sit together in silence. After a while, my father speaks. We made it back, he says. You and us, we made it back to being a family before she died. That's what she wanted most in her last years, to know you'd forgiven us, to know we'd rebuilt something real. I'm glad we did too. She was proud of you. Did she tell you that? Many times. Good, because she was. Not just for your success, but for your strength. For being strong enough to break when we were bending you, and still strong enough to rebuild after. We planned the funeral together, my father and me, working through details, making decisions. Blake flies in from North Carolina. We're cordial, respectful, but we don't have much to say to each other beyond condolences and logistics. At the funeral, I deliver the eulogy. I talk about my mother's kindness, her love of gardening, her book club, her grandchildren. I talk about her journey from pride to humility, from defensiveness to accountability. My mother made mistakes, I say, looking out at the crowded church. She would want me to be honest about that. She spent several years making choices that hurt people she loved. But she also did something remarkable. She admitted those mistakes. She apologized publicly. She spent the rest of her life trying to be better. I see people nodding. They remember the video. The public apology, the years of my mother correcting the record about what happened. That's the legacy I want us to remember, I continue. Not that she was perfect, but that she was willing to change. Not that she never failed, but that failure didn't define her. She taught me that it's never too late to choose truth over comfort, accountability over pride, healing over ego. After the service, people approach me with condolences and memories. My Aunt Patricia hugs me tightly. "Your mother loved you so much," she says. "In the end, you were one of her greatest sources of pride. We had a complicated journey. The best relationships usually do." Blake approaches me at the reception. "We haven't been alone together in years." "That was a good eulogy," he says. "Honest. Mom would have liked it." "Thanks. Can we talk sometime? Not today, but soon? There are things I'd like to say." "What kind of things?" "Apology things. Accountability things. I've been working with my therapist on this for a while. She says I need to make direct amends to the people I hurt. You're at the top of that list." I study his face. He looks older, tired, sincere. But I've learned not to trust sincerity without proof. "I'm willing to listen," I say, "but I need you to understand something first. I don't need your apology for my healing. I've already healed. If you need to apologize for your healing, that's different. It is for my healing, but also because you deserve to hear it." "Okay, then yes, we can talk." We meet 2 weeks later at the cabin, neutral territory that holds both good and bad memories for both of us. Blake brings his wife, Anna, who I've met a few times at family events. She's calm, grounded, the kind of person who doesn't tolerate manipulation. We sit on the porch overlooking the lake. "I've made a list," Blake begins. "My therapist suggested I write down everything I need to apologize for so I don't leave anything out." He pulls out several handwritten pages. My heart sinks. This is going to be a long conversation. But Blake surprises me. He reads through his list methodically, acknowledging each harm, forging my signature, manipulating our parents, creating the false narrative about me, trying to destroy my reputation, violating probation. Everything. "I stole from you," he says. "Not just money, but years of your life, peace of mind, your relationship with our parents. I stole the family you deserve because I was too weak and scared to face my own failures." "Why?" I ask. "Why did you do it?" "Because you succeeded where I failed, and I couldn't stand it. Every time Mom and Dad talked about your company, your accomplishments, I felt smaller. Instead of being proud of you, I was jealous. Instead of using that jealousy as motivation to improve myself, I tried to tear you down. That must have been exhausting." It was. Hating you, resenting you, constantly trying to prove I was the better child, it consumed me. And I hurt everyone, including myself, especially myself. Anna speaks up for the first time. "He's done a lot of work, Victoria. Years of therapy, 12-step programs, couples counseling. He's not the person he was." "I believe he's done the work," I say carefully. "But I'm not ready to have a close relationship again. I'm not sure I ever will be." "I understand," Blake says. "I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking you to know that I see what I did. I see the harm, and I'm genuinely sorry." We talk for another hour. It's not comfortable, but it's real. Blake answers my questions honestly, about the business, about the loans, about his thought process during those years. "Did you ever consider just asking me for help?" I ask, "instead of trying to manipulate and steal?" "Every day. But I was too proud. I thought asking for help meant admitting I was less than you. I couldn't do it. Pride is expensive. It cost me everything." He pauses, "but I got some things back. My wife, my kids, my self-respect. Not everything. I'll never get back those years with Mom and Dad, or our sibling relationship, but enough to build a decent life." As they're leaving, Anna pulls me aside. "Thank you for meeting with him," she says. "And thank you for protecting your parents back then. Blake told me everything, what he did, what you did to stop him. If you hadn't stepped in, who knows how much worse it could have gotten. I was just trying to survive. You were doing more than surviving. You were enforcing boundaries most people don't have the courage to enforce. My own family struggles with similar dynamics, and I think about your story a lot. It gives me courage to set my own boundaries." After they leave, I sit on the porch alone, watching the sun set over the lake. I think about forgiveness, about whether I've truly forgiven Blake or just accepted that we'll never be close again. Maybe they're the same thing. Maybe forgiveness doesn't mean restoring what was broken. It means accepting that it's broken and finding peace anyway. My father lives another 3 years after my mother's death. He spends those years quietly, gardening, fishing from the cabin dock, attending his support group, reading the books my mother never finished. I visit him every week. Sometimes we talk about deep things, regrets, lessons learned, the paths not taken. Sometimes we just sit in comfortable silence. I'm ready, he tells me one Sunday afternoon. We're at the cabin, our fishing lines in the water. Ready for what? To go, to be with your mother. I'm not sick, not suicidal, just ready. I've done what I needed to do, made my amends, saw my kids settled, lived long enough to see the family heal. I'm complete. Dad, I'm not saying I want to die. I'm saying I'm not afraid of it anymore. There's a difference. He passes away 6 months later. Another peaceful death, a stroke in his sleep, no suffering. Blake and I handle the funeral arrangements together, working side by side without conflict. He would have liked this, Blake says as we review the service program. Us working together, being civil. We've come a long way. We have, but it doesn't erase what I did. No, but it shows what we can build despite it. At the funeral, Blake delivers the eulogy. He talks about our father's garden, his love of fishing, his slow journey toward accountability. Dad made mistakes, Blake says, echoing the words I used at our mother's funeral. He enabled me when he should have confronted me. He blamed others when he should have looked at himself. But in his last decade, he did the hard work of change. He admitted his failures. He made amends. He taught me that it's never too late to be better. After the service, family members approach me with condolences. Many of them remember the church meeting 28 years ago, the false narratives, the public humiliation. Some apologize for believing lies. Others just acknowledge that they were wrong about me. You were patient with us, my Aunt Patricia says. You could have walked away from the whole family, but you didn't. You stayed connected enough that we could find our way back to you. I wanted to walk away sometimes, but you didn't. That strength, that's what I'll always remember about you. The will reading happens a week later. My father left everything, split equally between Blake and me. Half of the mortgage balance I'll essentially owe myself, half of his savings, half of his personal effects. The lawyer hands me a sealed envelope. Your father asked me to give you this after his death. I open it that evening at the cabin. It's a handwritten letter, several pages long, my father's careful script covering every inch. Victoria, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. That means I gotta finish my years without suffering, which is more than I deserve after what I put you through. I'm writing this because there are things I never said directly, things I need you to know. The trust, your grandfather's trust, was the smartest thing anyone in our family ever did. Not because it distributed money fairly, but because it forced us to face ourselves. Without the trust, I would have let Blake destroy us. With it, I had to confront my enabling, my fear, my willingness to sacrifice you to protect your brother. You triggered that trust knowing I'd hate you for it. You did it anyway. That's courage. You bought our mortgage note knowing we'd feel controlled. You did it anyway. That's wisdom. You enforced boundaries knowing we'd call you cruel. You did it anyway. That's love. Real love. The kind that protects people even when they don't want protection. The kind that tells the truth even when lies are easier. The kind that stays when leaving would be justified. Your mother and I failed you in so many ways. We chose comfort over courage, appearance over honesty, Blake over you. Those failures are ours to own, not yours to carry. But here's what I hope you'll remember. We learned. Late, slowly, painfully, but we learned. And those last 20 years, the years after we stopped fighting you and started trusting you, those were some of the best years of my life. Not because they were easy, but because they were real. You taught me what integrity looks like. You showed me that love and boundaries can coexist. You proved that family can survive even the deepest betrayals if everyone is willing to do the work. I'm proud of you. Not just for building a billion-dollar company, but for building a life with principles that don't bend under pressure. For being the kind of person who does the right thing even when it costs everything. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for leaving the door open just enough that we could find our way back to you. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. I love you. I always have. I just didn't always know how to show it. Your father. I read the letter 3 times, crying through most of it. Then I fold it carefully and put it in the box where I keep important family documents. Next to the trust agreement, next to my mother's apology letter, next to the photograph of all of us at the cabin before everything fell apart. These documents tell a story, not a pretty story, not a simple story, but a true one. A story about a family that almost destroyed itself, and the legal framework that forced them to rebuild instead. 5 years after my father's death, I make a decision about the cabin. I'm 61 now, thinking about legacy, about what happens to all of this after I'm gone. I call Blake. I want to talk about the cabin, I say. Okay, are you selling it? No, I'm creating a trust. There's silence on the other end. The word trust carries weight for both of us. What kind of trust, he asks carefully. A family trust like Grandpa's, but updated. The cabin stays in the family forever, not owned by any one person, but available to all family members according to rules that prevent conflict. Victoria, I don't deserve. This isn't about deserving. It's about learning from the past. Grandpa's trust saved us. I want to create something similar for the next generation. We meet at Juliet's office. She's 70 now, still sharp, still my trusted advisor. Blake brings Anna. I bring detailed plans I've been working on with estate attorneys. Here's what I'm proposing, I say. The cabin goes into a trust. All direct descendants are beneficiaries. That's Blake's kids and any future grandchildren from either of us. The trust manages the property, pays for maintenance, schedules usage. No one can sell it. No one can mortgage it. No one can use it as collateral. Like Grandpa's provisions, Blake says. Exactly. But with additional protections I've learned we need. Clear conflict resolution procedures. Independent trustee, mandatory family meetings to discuss the property. Everything designed to prevent what happened to us from happening to them. Anna speaks up. Emma would love this. She talks about the cabin all the time. All her best childhood memories happen there. That's why I want to preserve it. Not as my property, but as family property. A place where future generations can connect, even if they struggle with each other like we did. We spend 3 hours working through details. Blake is thoughtful, asking good questions, suggesting improvements. It feels strange to collaborate with him after so many years of conflict and distance. Why are you doing this? He asks finally. You could keep the cabin, leave it to whoever you want in your will. Why complicate it with a trust? Because I learned from Grandpa that family property without structure is a bomb waiting to explode. The trust isn't complication, it's protection. Protection from what? From ourselves, from our worst instincts, from history repeating itself. The trust is finalized 3 months later. The cabin officially belongs to the Harper Family Trust, with professional trustees managing it according to detailed terms. All family members get fair access. All conflicts have predetermined resolution procedures. It's not perfect, but it's fair. And fairness is the best protection against resentment. Emma, now 40, brings her own teenage daughter to the cabin that summer. We overlap for a day, and I watch 4 generations connected by this place. Me, Blake, Emma, and Emma's daughter, Sophia. Sophia is 15, the same age Emma was when we first met. She's curious, earnest, full of questions about family history. Is it true you and Uncle Blake didn't talk for years? She asks me. It's true. Why? I look at Blake. He nods, permission to tell the truth. Your grandfather made some bad choices that hurt a lot of people. I had to protect myself and others by enforcing legal boundaries. It took us a long time to rebuild trust. But you did rebuild it? We built something new, not the same as before, but real in its own way. That's cool, Sophia says. My health teacher says families are complicated. Your health teacher is right. That evening, after everyone else has gone to bed, Blake and I sit on the porch dock, our feet dangling in the water. Thank you, he says, for the trust, for including my family even after everything I did. The next generation shouldn't suffer for our mistakes. Still, you could have just left the cabin to Emma directly, cut me out entirely. No one would have blamed you. Grandpa didn't cut anyone out. He created structure instead. I'm following his example. He was wise. He was scarred. Wisdom often comes from scars. We sit in silence, watching the moon reflect on the water. After a while, Blake speaks again. Do you ever wonder how different things would have been if I'd just been honest from the start? If I'd told you about the failing business, asked for help instead of forging signatures? All the time. And? And I think we'd have a different relationship. Maybe closer, maybe not. But definitely different. Better? Not necessarily. What we have now is real. It's built on truth and boundaries and hard-earned respect. A relationship built on my rescuing you from your mistakes wouldn't have been real. It would have been enabling. So you're saying all the pain was necessary? I'm saying all the pain taught us things we needed to learn. That's not the same as it being necessary. Maybe we could have learned those lessons differently. But this is the path we took, and we survived it. Blake nods slowly. I'm glad we survived it. I'm glad my kids get to know you. I'm glad Emma has you as a role model. She doesn't need me. She's already braver than I was at her age, because she learned from watching you. We sit until the moon is high overhead, two siblings who've traveled a long, painful road back to something like peace. At 65, I retire from my company. I step down as CEO, transition to the board, and start thinking seriously about what the next chapter looks like. I spend more time at the cabin. I write, not for publication, but for myself. I document everything that happened with my family, trying to make sense of it, trying to extract lessons that might help others. Juliet visits me one afternoon. She's 74 now, fully retired, but we've stayed close friends. Have you thought about what happens to your estate? She asks. You've set up the cabin trust, but you have considerable assets beyond that. I've thought about it. And? I'm creating a foundation for families navigating conflict, legal aid for people who can't afford attorneys when family members exploit them, education about trusts and estate planning, support groups. That's perfect. Using your experience to help others. It feels right. I spent years being angry about what my family did to me, but that anger doesn't serve anyone anymore. This does. The Harper Family Foundation launches with significant funding and clear mission, protecting family members from financial exploitation while preserving relationships where possible. We hire family law attorneys, therapists, mediators. We create resources about trusts, about boundaries, about the difference between love and enabling. We fund legal representation for people fighting forgery cases, trust violations, elder abuse. The foundation's tagline, which I write myself, love without respect is just control. Emma becomes the foundation's first program director. She's been working in nonprofit management for years, and this feels like a natural fit. You're giving me Grandpa's legacy, she says when I offer her the position. The trust that saved our family, you're scaling it to help other families. Is that too much pressure? It's exactly the right amount of pressure. I want to do this. I want other families to have what we had, structure that forced us toward healing instead of destruction. The foundation grows quickly. We help hundreds of families in the first year, thousands in the second. We get letters from people whose lives changed because they had legal support, because they learned about estate planning, because they found therapists who understood family financial abuse. One letter in particular stays with me. It's from a woman named Patricia, not my aunt, a different Patricia, whose brother forged her name on equity loans and tried to take her parents' house. I read about your story online, she writes, about how you enforced your grandfather's trust and bought your parents' mortgage note to protect them. Everyone told me I was wrong to fight my brother legally. They said family doesn't do that to family. But your story gave me permission to protect myself and my parents. I got legal help through your foundation. We're safe now. My parents still have their house. My brother is facing consequences. Thank you for showing me that boundaries aren't betrayal, they're love. I frame that letter and hang it in my office. At 70, I'm diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. It's treatable, caught early, good prognosis. But it forces me to confront mortality in a way I haven't before. Blake visits me during my treatment. We sit in my hospital room after a chemo session, and he's awkward, uncertain how to help. I brought you books, he says, gesturing to a stack on the table. Emma said you like mysteries. Thanks. And I made a playlist, songs from when we were kids. I thought it might be, I don't know, comforting? I'm touched by the effort. Blake has never been good at caretaking. It's not his strength, but he's trying. Play it, I say. We listen to music from the 80s and 90s, songs that played on road trips to the cabin, songs from our childhood. Some of them make us laugh, some make us cry. Do you remember the summer Dad taught us to fish? Blake asks. I remember you catching the biggest bass and refusing to share credit with me even though I helped you land it. I was such a little shit. You were 8. I was a little shit at 8 and at 28 and at 38. But you're doing better now. Am I, though? I still struggle with wanting credit, wanting to be seen as successful. I just have better coping mechanisms than forgery and fraud. I laugh, which hurts my chest but feels good anyway. That's growth, I say. Recognizing your patterns and choosing different responses. That's therapy. Expensive, time-consuming, sometimes excruciating therapy. Worth it? Completely. During my treatment, I have time to think about legacy, about what I want to be remembered for. Not the company that's already established, not the money that's going to the foundation and to family, but the story. The journey from conflict to healing. I decide to write a book, not a memoir exactly, but a guide for families navigating financial conflict. I work on it between treatments, dictating when I'm too tired to type. The book is called Love Without Respect: How Legal Structure Saved My Family. It tells the whole story. The trust, the buyout, the mortgage note, the years of estrangement, the slow rebuild. I don't hide anything. I include my mistakes, my moments of doubt, the times I almost gave up. I include Blake's perspective too. He writes a chapter about his own journey, about what led him to forge documents and manipulate our parents. I was terrified of being seen as a failure, he writes. Victoria's success made my mediocrity unbearable. Instead of using that feeling as motivation, I tried to tear her down. It's taken me decades to understand that her success wasn't an indictment of my worth. It was just her success. They were separate things. The book publishes 2 years after my diagnosis, after I'm in remission. It becomes an unexpected bestseller, resonating with families everywhere who see themselves in our story. I do interviews, speaking engagements, book tours. Everywhere I go, people share their own versions of our story. Siblings who fought over inheritance, parents who enabled destructive children, families torn apart by money and pride. Thank you for writing this, one woman tells me after a book signing. My sister is doing to our parents exactly what your brother did to yours. Everyone tells me to be patient, to keep the peace. But your book gave me permission to protect them, even if it means she'll hate me. Document everything, I tell her. Stay calm. Let contracts do what arguments can't. That's my favorite line from the book. It's the most important lesson I learned. At 75, I'm preparing for the possibility that I might not have much time left. The cancer came back, a different kind, more aggressive. The doctors are cautiously optimistic, but I'm realistic. I call a family meeting at the cabin. Everyone comes, Blake and Anna, Emma and her family, Blake's son and his wife, all the grandchildren and great-nieces and nephews, 3 generations of Harpers, gathered at the place that's held us together. I stand on the porch, looking at all of them, and I think about my grandfather. He never saw this. He died before he could know whether his trust worked, whether it saved us, or just delayed our destruction. I wish I could tell him it worked. It saved us. I asked you all here because I want you to understand something, I begin. This family almost destroyed itself over money. We lied, manipulated, forged documents, turned on each other. We did terrible things because we loved each other badly. The younger generation is listening carefully. They know the stories. Emma has made sure of that. But hearing them from me is different. Your great-grandfather built a trust to protect us from our worst impulses. That trust forced us to follow rules when we couldn't trust our emotions. It created structure that led to healing. I pull out the original trust document, yellowed pages, my grandfather's signature at the bottom. This piece of paper saved us. Not because it distributed money fairly, but because it required us to be fair, to face consequences, to choose truth over comfort. I look at Blake. He nods. Permission to continue. Blake forged my signature and nearly destroyed our parents financially. I could have walked away, cut them all off, let them suffer the consequences alone. Instead, I enforced the trust. I bought their mortgage note. I created boundaries that protected everyone. It felt like punishment at the time, Blake adds. But it was actually love. The kind of love that's hard and uncomfortable, but ultimately life-saving. That's what I want you to remember, I say to the younger generation. That love isn't always gentle. Sometimes love is boundaries. Sometimes love is enforcement. Sometimes love is choosing what's right over what's comfortable. Emma's daughter Sophia raises her hand like she's in school. Yes, Sophia? Grandpa Blake says you saved the family. But it seems like great-grandpa's trust saved the family. Which is it? I smile. She's 15, the same age Emma was when we first talked about all this. The age when kids start understanding that adult relationships are complicated. Both, I say. Great-grandpa created the structure. I chose to use it. The structure without action wouldn't have saved anyone. Action without structure would have created chaos. We needed both. So the lesson is have good estate planning and the courage to enforce it. That's exactly the lesson. We spend the rest of the day together, fishing, swimming, eating, telling stories. I watch my family interact and see how different we are from that terrible dinner 47 years ago when my parents first showed me the changed will. We're not perfect. We still have conflicts, disagreements, moments of tension, but we have structure for managing those conflicts. We have history that taught us what happens when we don't. As the sun sets, Blake sits beside me on the dock. Are you scared? He asks. Of dying? A little. Of dying before finishing what I started? Very. What haven't you finished? Making sure the next generation understands. Making sure they know how to protect themselves and each other. Making sure the foundation continues. Emma will handle the foundation. She's brilliant at it. I know, but I want to make sure she has support, that you're there for her if she needs guidance. I will be. Blake, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you regret it? All of it? The business, the loans, the forgery, everything? He's quiet for a long time. I regret hurting people. I regret the years we lost, but I don't regret the lessons. I learned who I was capable of being, both the worst and the best. That knowledge has shaped everything since. So you're saying all the pain had purpose? I'm saying we gave it purpose. The pain just was. What we did with it, the healing, the growth, the foundation, this family gathering. That's the purpose we created. I think about that. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not that suffering is meaningful, but that we can make it meaningful through what we build from it. I don't die. Not yet. The cancer responds to treatment better than expected. I get another 5 years, 5 bonus years to watch my family continue healing, to see the foundation grow, to finish the work I started. At 80, I'm still living independently, still spending weekends at the cabin, still active in the foundation. I'm slower, more tired, but still present. Emma runs the foundation beautifully. She's expanded it beyond legal aid to include therapy programs, financial education, conflict resolution training. She's helped thousands of families navigate situations similar to ours. You built something that will outlive both of us, I tell her one afternoon. We're at the foundation office, reviewing the annual report. We built it together. You created the vision. I'm just implementing it. You're doing more than implementing. You're improving, expanding, making it better than I imagined. That's because I learned from watching you. You showed me that standing up to family isn't betrayal. It's often the most loving thing you can do. Blake volunteers at the foundation now, leading a support group for people who've engaged in financial manipulation and want to make amends. It's therapeutic for him and helpful for others who struggle with similar patterns. I tell them what I did, he explains to me. The forgery, the manipulation, the years of blaming everyone but myself. And then I tell them what happened, that my sister enforced boundaries that probably saved my life. How do they respond? Some get angry. They're not ready to hear that they're the problem. But some, the ones who are really ready to change, they get it. They see that being held accountable was actually a gift. One evening, Blake brings someone to meet me, a man named Thomas who's in his support group. Thomas's sister is suing him to enforce a family trust, Blake explains. He was angry at first, blaming her, but he's starting to see that she's protecting their parents from his mistakes. Thomas shakes my hand nervously. Blake told me about what happened with your family, how you bought your parents' house debt and enforced the trust buyout. That's right. I thought Blake was exaggerating. I thought no one actually does that to family. But here you are. You really did it. I did. And your family survived it? More than survived. We healed because of it. Thomas sits down heavily. My sister filed a lawsuit 3 months ago. I've been fighting it, telling everyone she's greedy and cruel. But hearing your story, maybe she's trying to save our family the way you saved yours. Maybe she is. What should I do? Stop fighting. Start listening. Ask yourself honestly, am I protecting my parents, or am I protecting my access to their assets? Thomas's eyes fill with tears. I know the answer. I just didn't want to admit it. After he leaves, Blake thanks me. That's the fourth person you've talked to this month. You're helping them see what I couldn't see until it was almost too late. I'm just telling the truth. They're choosing to hear it. Still, you're making a difference. At 82, I start feeling truly ready, not eager to die, but no longer afraid of it. I've done what I needed to do. The foundation is stable. The family is healing. The next generation understands the lessons we learned so painfully. I update my will one final time. The structure is simple. My assets go to the foundation, with generous provisions for family members who need support. The cabin trust continues unchanged. No one person can ever own it, no one can ever mortgage it. It belongs to the family forever. I write letters to each family member, Blake, Emma, Sophia, all of them. Personal letters, specific to each person, containing the wisdom I've gained and the hopes I have for their future. To Blake I write, you became the person you were capable of being. Not the person you were at 30, but the person you chose to become through hard work and honesty. That transformation is your greatest achievement. I'm proud of you. To Emma, you took our family's worst moment and turned it into help for thousands of families. You took pain and created purpose. That's exactly what I hoped someone would do with our story. Thank you for being that someone. To Sophia, you're the generation that gets to start fresh. You inherited our lessons without having to live our mistakes. Use that gift wisely. Set boundaries early. Choose truth over comfort. Love people enough to let them face consequences. I seal the letters and give them to my attorney with instructions to deliver them after my death. I'm 83 when I finally let go. It's not dramatic, just a quiet decision to stop treatment, to enter hospice, to let nature take its course. My family gathers at the cabin one last time. All of them, 3 generations, filling every room and spilling out onto the porch and dock. We spend a week together, talking, laughing, crying, remembering. Blake sits with me on my last clear-headed day. We're on the porch, watching the sunset, just like we've done hundreds of times before. I'm glad we made it back, he says. From enemies to this, it's more than I deserved. Stop saying that. You did the work. You earned it. You gave me the chance to do the work. If you'd cut me off completely, I might never have changed. Or you might have changed faster without me as a crutch. Maybe. We'll never know. We sit in silence, watching the light fade over the lake. Victoria? Yeah? Thank you for everything, for protecting Mom and Dad, for enforcing the trust, for buying the house debt, for all of it. I know I thanked you before, but I need to say it again. You saved us. We saved each other. I couldn't have healed without eventually forgiving you. You couldn't have changed without consequences. We needed both. That's generous, that's true. Emma joins us on the porch. Then Sophia. Then more family members, until we're all squeezed together watching the last sunset I'll ever see from this dock. Tell us the story, Sophia asks. The whole story, from the beginning. So I do. I tell them about the will, about the trust, about my grandfather's foresight. I tell them about the buyout, about the mortgage note, about the years of estrangement and the slow rebuild. I tell them about choosing strategy over emotion, about documents doing what arguments couldn't, about love without respect being control. I tell them about my mother's apology, about my father's letter, about Blake's transformation. I tell them about the foundation, about helping other families, about turning our pain into purpose. That's the real legacy, I say when I finish. Not the money, not the cabin, not even the foundation. The legacy is the lesson that families can survive anything if they're willing to choose truth over comfort, accountability over pride, protection over enabling. And that legal structure helps, Emma adds. Always document everything, Sophia recites, making us all laugh. Exactly, document everything. Stay calm, let contracts do what arguments can't. We sit together as the stars come out, 3 generations of Harpers who learn the hard way how to love each other properly. I die 2 days later, peacefully, surrounded by family. My last conscious thought is gratitude for my grandfather's trust that saved us, for Juliet's guidance that protected us, for the family that eventually chose healing over destruction. The funeral is huge. Hundreds of people. Family, foundation staff, families we've helped, people whose lives changed because they read my book or heard me speak. Emma delivers the eulogy. She talks about my company, my success, my philanthropy, but she focuses most on the family story, on how I chose boundaries over enabling, on how I protected people even when they hated me for it, on how I built a foundation from our family's rubble. My great-aunt taught me that love isn't always gentle, Emma says. Sometimes love is enforcement. Sometimes love is consequences. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to save people from themselves. She pauses, looking out at the crowd. Victoria Harper saved our family by refusing to rescue us. She enforced boundaries that felt like punishment, but were actually protection. She documented everything, stayed calm, and let contracts do what arguments couldn't. That's the lesson she left us. That's how she loved us. After the funeral, the family gathers at the cabin one last time. My ashes are scattered on the lake, the place that held us together through our worst times and our healing. Blake stands at the end of the dock, holding the urn, and says a few words. Victoria showed me what real strength looks like. Not the strength to manipulate or control, but the strength to set boundaries and maintain them, even when everyone hates you for it. I spent half my life resenting her for that strength. I spent the second half learning from it. I hope I use the rest of my life teaching it. He pours my ashes into the water. They spread across the surface, catching the sunlight, then slowly sinking into the depths where so many of our family memories live. The Harper family trust continues. The foundation grows. The cabin hosts new generations of family gatherings. My book stays in print, helping families navigate their own conflicts. And somewhere, I imagine my grandfather smiling, knowing that the trust he created to protect us from ourselves worked exactly as he intended. Not by preventing conflict, but by providing structure for healing after the inevitable conflicts came. That's the legacy. That's the lesson. That's the earned ending. If you've ever been punished for succeeding, if you've ever been manipulated by family, if you've ever wondered whether setting boundaries makes you the villain, remember this story. Document everything. Stay calm. Let contracts do what arguments can't. And know that love without respect is just control. Real love sometimes means boundaries. Real love sometimes means consequences. Real love sometimes means protecting people even when they hate you for it. That's how families survive. That's how families heal. That's how you win without anyone losing their humanity.